Nice to see you, and thank you for coming in from all over the world and from different time zones. It's a big moment for us because this is the first ever dedicated G4G M&E training. We, all of us, I think in the room, have been through the trainings to prepare ourselves to be G4G mentors. This is an add-on. It means that not only are you generous in terms of mentoring, the people who are sitting in the room with us today are also ladies who are stepping up. They're saying, we understand it's good to mentor, but we also need to document and we need to be able to demonstrate what the evidence is of what we're doing. It's a personal passion of mine. So it's something that I think, you know, we've really been allowed to indulge ourselves, and we're so happy and so glad to have you joining us. So I'm going to be kicking off with the first session that's going to be looking at monitoring and evaluation. Some of you will have seen a little bit of it in the first session that we had at the launch, but this time round, we're going to have a conversation. So we've got a structured program. But remember, this is the G4G M&E 2.0. It's the first time we're putting it out there. Those of you who are familiar with monitoring and evaluation know that monitoring and evaluation is continuously evolving. It's never static. So even as we say we have done all this hard work, we're putting it out there, keep a critical mind. Keep coming back to us and saying, that tool, maybe we can enhance it this way. So we are open to criticism. So as we go along in this session, you're going to find that there's a lot of dialogue. We're going to be asking you questions. We're going to ask you to participate. We're going to try and keep the energy up because we are innovating together, okay? So let's get started. Overview of monitoring and evaluation. So I like to put it this way, that monitoring, and it's what all of us do, is like keeping a finger on the pulse, yeah? Or, you know, over here. Or when your child is sick, you know, we put the hand here, or we put the hand over here. We're trying to figure out what is happening over here. Are you well? Are you not well? And that's what monitoring is about. It's about using information. Oh, you're feeling a little bit hot, or, oh my goodness, it looks like you're really cold. We use the information we collect from the activities we have in the Girls for Girls cohorts to improve our performance. We're not just gathering information. We're using it so that we can apply it in a sensible manner. The other thing we do is it's for routine tracking, for us to say, yes, we're aiming for those 1 million girls by 2025, but where are we? We're aiming for 10,000 mentors by 2025. Where are we in the journey if this is 2021 today? So that we can inform ourselves. Maybe we need to rev up our activities, or maybe we need to say to ourselves, you know what, we've got this. We're okay, we're moving at a fine pace. Monitoring is ongoing. So it looks tedious and sounds tedious to some people, but I always say to people, if you collect the data and you make use of the data, it actually becomes a joy and a pleasure, because it means you see how you're helping yourself. In fact, when one cohort calls and says, we're struggling with this, you can then look at your information and say, but this is what we learned, and you're able to share it. I think that partly explains, you know, the reason that we have some very strong bonds across countries that historically maybe would not even talk together. I mean, I talk to Aisha, who is heading Pakistan, all the time. You know, once in a while I'm texting Nabila, sharing stories from South Africa with her in Kuwait. Aisha is in Pakistan. I talk to Mimi. We talk about the differences between the Anglophone and the Francophone approaches, but we are always comparing data or information. So the monitoring information is exactly for that, to help us improve performance. The other thing we like to point out, I think, upfront is that everyone says M&E and thinks we're only talking about mentee data and mentor data and maybe cohort data, yeah? But because there are many things that contribute towards the success of Girls for Girls, for instance, we need to train mentors in order for us to have people who are equipped and ready to mentor the girls, which means that the training activities also need to be monitored, because you can't be saying, I'm going to set up 100 cohorts in Uganda, but you're not training your mentors. So you need to, it filters in. We also need to know how much, especially now as we scale up and grow our operations, how much are we mobilizing? Before it was easy. If you only had a cohort with 12 girls, it was buy, a bit of coffee and cake and sit down and engage. But it's no longer the case. We're now beginning to run today in South Africa. I think we have about 4, 5 different cohorts that are running today. I was looking at how much data we are sending out. We're literally becoming a business. So the fundraising team becomes important. And we need to monitor and know what the fundraising people are doing for us to be able to drive the cohorts. So partnerships and outreach. Partnerships, that's where we generate new mentors. Outreaches, maybe that's where we start the journey in terms of identifying corporates that come and support the G4G journey. So one thing
Rita,
I want to say to
sorry. Rita, I'm so sorry. Can you make me co-host so that I can support the entry? I apologize. I dropped off.
Okay. Okay. I'll ask Mary to do that. If not, I'll come back to it. I don't want to lose my track of thought. So I think that the big point here, what I'm saying is that the monitoring supports all the activities of G4G. And if there's ever a point, and maybe it might be in your countries, where you feel, but this is a very important activity or intervention that we do that complements what we do in the cohorts, then you need to monitor it. And maybe we have not yet identified it, but from the global team, the key things we think we need to be keeping our eye on is the strategy, the rollout of our strategy. So how we're rolling out across countries, how we're rolling out across cohorts within countries, the interventions around partnerships and outreaches, because that becomes an input for our mentors. For instance, the book clubs and the fireside chats. And then we have fundraising, who are the ones who give us the resources to be able to run our activities. Then we have communications. Communications are very good at putting the word out there and saying, hey, this is what G4G is doing, which means it attracts more people. So these are the big areas Global is looking at. And that's why when you come for this training, you're not only going to hear us talking about mentee and mentor data, you're going to also hear us talk about these other operations of G4G. So that was the one part, that was the monitoring. There's the evaluation bit of it. So the evaluation is where you take a stop, because it's always good in life to take a stop and you say to yourself, what have we achieved? So when we look at evaluation, we're looking, it's episodic, yeah? So evaluation, you can't do it all the time, routinely like the monitoring. It has to be at a point in time. It's a big exercise. It costs in terms of time as well as financial resources, depending on how big your operations are. And I think people like Uganda who are running, Diana, you're running in excess of how many cohorts right now? You're running how many cohorts?
Right now we have over 10 for now.
Okay, for now. But we know that as the year proceeds, then, and your cohorts are big. I think there's one with over 100 people in them, right? Okay, so you can see that the scale there is quite a bit. So the evaluation is you take a stop and you say, what did we do? So at G4G, the one type of evaluation we are hoping to now to do on a regular basis is what we call a process evaluation. We're going to do it on an annual basis, where we stop and we say, what happened to the cohorts in 2020, for instance? We're just thinking about ours. But what do you do in an evaluation that's a little bit different from the monitoring? We go deeper. We ask ourselves, this program that we ran in 2020, that is called G4G with the 6 modules, is it relevant? I think for those of you who have heard me talk about how G4G came to South Africa, I asked myself, when Alan said to me, come and see what G4G is like, came to Uganda, fell in love with it, but I still asked myself, is it going to answer the needs of South Africa? I think Mimi says the same thing. Is it going to answer the girls in France and in Algeria? Aisha probably went through the same thing. And then you begin to see that, okay, maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. So that's why the evaluation is important. Is it effective? What are the things we are supposed to be imparting? The knowledge and the skills we are supposed to be imparting. Do we see it transferring to the girls? So you can see that the evaluation involves listening to the girls. We document what the girls say. We also document what the mentors say. And we ask, did it have an effect? What was the impact? Yeah. And we document that, because we start out saying, here are 6 modules, and these are the things within the modules that we are hoping to impart. But maybe there are some areas where we do better than we do others. And again, that's about learning. So we say, okay, Maybe art of communication is wildly successful. We discovered that when we did the evaluation in 2019. But you might find that there are some modules, maybe we're not doing so well, they're slipping under the radar. Then we need to stop and ask ourselves, why is that the case? The last bit is what I am passionate about. For me, who works in development, sustainability. And I always say this to people who are always like, capture the effect immediately. But I always say, the true lasting effect, the sustainability is what we need to be running after. Can we come back to the mentees 3 years from today? And they're talking about that options framework. Can we come back 5 years from today and we hear a former mentee talking about the importance of village, of network, investing in information gathering years? That is effect over a long term, and that means it's sustainable. So that's sustainable in terms of the knowledge, but there's also sustainability for G4G itself. How do we ensure this program self-perpetuates? So you're going to see that part of the evaluation we do, we ask ourselves, what is the retention rate of our mentors? How many come back? The ladies who joined me, for instance, in 2019, to start up G4G South Africa, how many were there? How many continued into 2020? How many have continued into 2021? Alternatively, of the mentees that we graduate in a year. So for example, the 146 that we graduated in 2020 from South Africa, how many were converted into mentors? So for instance, Akalulwa, who Diana was talking with just earlier on, is a former mentee, now returned as a mentor, not only as a mentor, in fact, she's part of our coordinating team. That shows that this is a movement. I think Ellen is very clear about that. What is a movement? It's something that is growing. So the sustainability is not only in terms of the sustainable knowledge within the mentees, within the mentors, but it's also the sustainability of the model of G4G. So that's why you'll see us asking sometimes how many of the graduated came back in. So the evaluation, like I said, it takes place at a certain point in time. It assesses the change. How did the girls enter? What were they saying they wanted? I want to build confidence. By the time they were done, had they built confidence? We check for that. And it's time bound. We always try and do it within a year after the girls graduate. Okay. If there are any questions coming up in the chat, please let me know. Because like I said, this is a conversation. Diana, please keep an eye out.
Rita, you need to make us co-hosts. Mary is also not co-host. So everybody's kind of sitting at the door.
Is stuck?
Thanks.
Okay, sorry, but I had made everyone a cohort.
I know. I dropped off that device. Okay, so Mary, myself, and Maria. Maria also says she's.
Sorry, guys, I'm gonna have to get out of
stop sharing
presentation mode. Yeah, sorry about this, good people. I've made a bunch of people.
Yes, we're good. Thank you.
Who else? Mary?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. There are at least 2 people. May I continue? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so we're all good. Let me continue. So monitoring and evaluation are intertwined. The two are not separate processes. The information that we gather from monitoring is, like we said, it's routine. You pick up numbers, quantitative data, how many mentees are part of the group, how many mentees attended session 1, how many mentees graduated, yeah? But we also capture qualitative data. Why did the drop-off rate happen? So for instance, 50 girls signed up, but then on the first session day, only 35 came in. Why was that the case? The 35 that started, we ultimately only graduated 25. What happened over there? So we tend to combine qualitative and quantitative information. But as we do that, we're doing it across. We're doing that as across, for instance, the cohorts, the 6 modules that we are running. But then, like I said, we come back and we take a step on the evaluation. So the evaluation then provides information that refines. We can then take all the information that we collected in the monitoring, and we can actually draw a trend and see this girl, Rita, who came session 1 and could not even put on her video. Session 2, we started seeing her put up her hand. Session 3, Art of Communication, she was talking and she was singing to everyone, and now pushing the G4G agenda. We can watch her journey. But then when we do the evaluation, we actually have that luxury to take a step back and say, where did the change happen? And we can read her information, her feedback that came back to us, and we can say, oh, okay, it was this particular thing that triggered her, or maybe it was just a gradual growth. So the evaluation then gives us that opportunity to say, let us refine our approach and improve ourselves going forward. So for instance, things that came out to us, I'll pick on Art of Communication. Again, in South Africa, they said, it's all good telling us about being clear, being persuasive, being inspirational, and teaching us all the strategies. But can you give us a bit more time? Because we are third-year students and we're beginning to apply for scholarships. We want you to be able to drill us through an interview process. We want you to help us to write good CVs. So that feedback, we responded to it, whereby we then had an extra session. So like I'm saying, it came through the monitoring process, that feedback. And then because of the evaluation, we were able to then cement it in and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Now, coming from the evaluation side into the next set of cohorts for 2021, the alumni group have picked up on that, and they've already started running this as an extra, if you may call it, informal module that complements what is happening to G4G. So I think you begin to see how, as long as the information is analyzed and the information is applied, then the energy and the effort that you expend towards M&E makes sense. So how do we do this at G4G? We do this through indicators. Through monitoring with indicators. So indicators are simply measurable characteristics of variables, which represent progress. If you came to me and said to me, I'm setting up a wedding planning business, probably one of the first things I'd ask is like, have you got a venue? You know where your office will be? What is your recruitment or drive to get new clients like? That is at the start. And then maybe 4 weeks later, we have a chat, and then you say to me, ooh, guess what? I have a little bit of interest. And I might ask you, who are your clientele? Have they signed the contract? All those questions I'm asking are actually indicators. So let's walk through what the indicators are at G4G. So, sorry, before I get there are different types of classifications of indicators. The starting point is the input. Do you have an office? Where were you operating? So it's what you put into the work. And you can begin to think of, for those of you who are leading cohorts, what were the first things you did, even before the cohort started running? What is it you put in? The process. The process means now you're beginning to take action. The next one is output. This is the first time you're beginning to see results. So maybe you win your first client, if I continue with my wedding planner idea. And then so the input, the process, and the output are really short term. Those are the immediate effects that you see, okay? Sorry, I'm going the other way around. And then the bigger effect is what we call outcome and impact. So the outcome and impact indicators are normally medium term to longer term. So what do they look like at Girls for Girls? Let's walk the journey. We know that for us to even say we have G4G operational in our country, we need to have mentors and we need to have mentees, isn't it? But we know that there's a special step that we do for mentors. We have to train them for them to be able to mentor the girls. So those are inputs. The time and the money that we spend recruiting and training mentors is an input. The time and effort we spend, whether it's on social media, recruiting the mentees, it's all input. And we can measure it. But that's not the end, yeah? What you want then is, once you've recruited mentors, you've trained them, once you have mentees, you then set up the cohorts. But it's not enough to say, oh, we have a cohort at University of Johannesburg or at Makerere University or Nairobi University. No, you must then actually be operational. Yeah, so the cohorts then must start running. And that's where in our monitoring data, we're at least beginning to report. We have session 1, we've run session 2, we've run session 3, but that's still not the end. The first time we begin to reap results is when we now start to see the mentees graduated, because that's the first step in terms of what we want. And then the other add-on step, like I talked about in terms of sustainability, is that we actually begin to see some of the mentees coming back as mentors. So those are the first quick wins that we get. And there are more things that we can measure. But in terms of outcomes, and we see it literally as we graduate the girls, and we see it like over maybe the first year, we begin to see the increased confidence and leadership skills amongst the mentees. And admittedly, for some of the mentees, it actually starts earlier on. It starts within the 6 modules. But normally, we can say the big effect happens once the girls have graduated. So that's why we then come back after about 6 months to a year, and then we say, let's talk to you young ladies. As you went through the program, how effective was it? Can we talk about your confidence skills, your communication skills, negotiation skills, and things like that? So the outcome, we measure it through the evaluation, and then the impact. And Alan and Izana and I have had big discussions about this one. And we're going to see it probably in a few more years to come, the increased presence of women in influential leadership positions. Because right now, for example, in South Africa, we're dealing with predominantly university and high school students. I think in Uganda is where they've had a bit of a bridge whereby they have maybe you can say 20-year-olds, young professionals. I'm not very familiar with the other cohorts, but I know in Kenya, they also have young professional women and things like that. But the big effect that we are going to be really looking for, we might only see in 3 or 4 years to come with regards to the mentees. With regards to the mentors, we may already be seeing an effect whereby we already had women in management level, came as mentors, took the material and literature from G4G, applied it in their lives, and are beginning to have an impact at a broad societal level. So this is the journey we wish to take, and the impact that we ultimately wish to have at G4G. And the question is, how do we measure it? And this one is only looking at cohort data. You can do the same thing. You can go through fundraising and build your own set of indicators. So for instance, the fundraising team, anyone here who is supporting the fundraising committee, inputs, you can hold fundraising drives with corporates. Or alternatively, at a simpler level, you can start collecting mentorship fees. That's a form of fundraising drive. At a process level, you can then start, once you've collected the funds, you start applying it into the cohort so that the cohorts run. So the trick here is you must always remember that fundraising is there not for its own end. The fundraising is ultimately to support the cohorts. And you'll see that as we build the indicators, it comes back. It comes back to the ultimate end of G4G, okay? So that's an example of a journey of indicators and how we go up them. So that under monitoring, we would be looking at input, process, and output indicators. In the evaluation is when we'll be looking at that big effect, which is the outcome and impact indicators. I'm going to take a bit of a break and see if there are any questions coming up. Diana, take a look for me. It sounds like there's a lot to do. And yes, there's a lot to do, but this is our comfort to you. When we were designing the M&E system for G4G, what we've done is, we recognize all of us are giving of our own free time. So what we've done is we've sliced the cake. We've cut up the responsibilities so that you don't have any particular group of people that are overwhelmed with data collection. Otherwise, it becomes a job, and then we'll no longer be happy about it. It will be something that you dread doing. So we've kept the M&E system simple and logical. The indicators that we have designed, you will see, they have owners. They are owners, the cohort people, people like, I don't know, say cohort leaders like who is in here? Gloria Motibi, for instance, from South Africa is hoping to set up one at a technology university. She's going to be interested in, how to monitor from NT and mentor data. Then you have people who do the training, people who run the training. I think Patricia is here. Alan is here. Alan drives our training. Mimi is heading the global training group. They will be the ones who are worried about, are our people reporting the data, and what do those structures and systems look like? The communications people, so people like Cheska from Malaysia, she will make sure, and we've had engagement over her, in terms of the indicators and the data that they are collecting. Partnerships, I think Primera is here, fundraising. So what we've done is that instead of giving all of this entire basket of indicators to one team or one person to manage, we've cut up the cake so that it's actually made manageable. And then we are also saying that within the countries, cascade that effort lower. We've given you tools, we've given you templates to make it easier. Are those tools perfect? No. We're very happy to adjust them after we've tried using them for 1 year, but at least it means you have somewhere to start up from. And then we are supporting the training like we're doing now to make sure that you have the tools, you have the templates, you can actually kick off. You can take that M&E plan and customize it for yourself. So I'm going to take a bit of a break there and see where we are and if there are any clarification questions at this point. Diana?
No questions, Rita.
Okay.
Ladies, if you want, you can put up your hand. If you not, put up your hand, or you can.
Okay, so we're good.
None.
Okay. So what I've done is I've done quite a bit of talking. So we are going to do a little bit of activity again. And this is just to help you reflect on what data actually means, or what information actually means. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat and a little game. So once again, here is Mentimeter. There's a QR code. So for those of you who have your phone, take it and hover, go to your camera. Is it camera? Go to your, sorry, I've got my little helper in the room. Go to your camera and then do your QR code, and you'll see that your Safari or your internet is going to open up. Okay, and then I'm going to get out. Okay, and then Keza says to me that she has put a link in the chat. Now I need to get out of this, okay? And I need to stop sharing my screen so that you can share your screen. Okay. Are we all there? Have we all gotten it? Okay, so we want to know the first question that we have. The first question that we have for you. We're going to start collecting data. How many people in your country are registered for this M&E session? And it's okay, you can give thumbs up figures. And please vote. So the link is there. You have an option of the link, or you have an option of, thank you. Okay, someone's saying 25. Those are the Ugandans, or those are the Zimbabweans. I know Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda are huge today. Actually, Kenya as well. Okay, so I see some smaller numbers. Yes, 2, 1, 16. So the 16.1 is the average number of participants. It's taking your total, your tally, yeah? It's taking your tally, okay, 17. So you can see what data does. We have some extremities. I know that, for instance, Bangladesh, we have 1 person. I think France, Algeria, we have 1 person. And then we have guys like Zambia who are about 20 or something like that. Okay, we're at 16.9. 26 people have voted. Is that a fair enough? No, it's not a big enough number. We're at 62 people, okay? Okay, so let's say we have about 17 people that are registered from your country. But when you were populating the numbers, is the number good? And this, I want your answers in the chat box. So for instance, the person who put, for argument's sake, I think someone put 25 or someone put 15, another person put 1. Is that a good representation at this training? Miriam immediately comes up with where I need to be going. Okay, yes. So Miriam has made the point that I actually already want. I normally like to have a bit of a debate, but I know Miriam, she's like, boom, she always goes for it. So Miriam, when we say it needs to be relative, what does that mean? And feel free to put on your camera or video and talk if you want to, or if not, you can continue dialoguing in the chat box. I need your thinking caps on, ladies. I need your thinking caps on. This is M&E. Rosalida says, not really, especially if it's at starting phase. Okay, okay. Aka says, ideally in the coordinating team members. Someone says, no, the sample should be more than half. We're getting there. The point is, numbers on their own do not make sense, right? So if for instance, under COVID, when a country says, oh, we have 10 COVID cases, out of how many? If you're Seychelles, and you have 100,000 people, maybe that's something big. But if you're India, 10 cases meant nothing, right? So we immediately recognize that when we collect data, you need to put it into context. So let me challenge all of you. Have we been putting it into context? Have we just been saying, I have 2 mentors, I have 3 mentees, I have this, that, yeah? So the out of becomes important, your denominator value. So let's go to the next question, okay? So we know how many people from our country are registered for this particular training. How many people in your country support the M&E role or function? And here, there should have been a little bit of thinking. What should that denominator be? Should it be out of all the mentors in South Africa or all the mentors in Pakistan? Or should it be out of the coordinating teams? In fact, someone pointed it out, yeah? Aka is the one who pointed it out. So how many people in your country support the M&E role or function? Because you can see where I'm going, we will be able to calculate. So this is your denominator value. Okay, so someone has said 2.5. Yeah, this requires you to think a little bit, 4.8. And I'm sure the country team leaders in here are squirming a little bit because it makes you realize maybe you don't have the right number of people. For instance, today I think I have only about 7 or 8 people. And yet we are running about, we're aiming to run about 9 cohorts in South Africa. And for me, I think we need at least 3 people from every coordination team to be here. That would be 9 times 3, that is 27 people. And I would hope that my directors would join me, my country leadership team. And that is maybe about 3 other ladies that should join. So my denominator from South Africa should actually be 30. Yeah? So think about it, put your numbers in there. That denominator is very important. Okay? So we have 10. That cannot be. That means that there are some big cohorts in the room that have not answered. I'm quality assuring your data because in the previous answer, we had 16, we had an average of 16 people saying they're represented in the training today. But your denominator value is very low. That means the big countries, you're underreporting yourself. So think about it and put your number in there. So like, for instance, Diana, how many, what is your denominator? Annette, if you're in the room, what is your denominator? South Africa, so I have shared.
Yeah, I think I'm the one spike up there. I put 30 because I'm looking at 10 groups and saying each has at least 3 coordinators.
Yes.
But and then we have coaches who support to make sure that tools are used and understood and it is.
Cool. Okay. Okay. We're still at 10. Which means either we have not understood what we are supposed to be doing, alternatively, there's an underreporting from the big countries. So Zambia, Namuchana, if you're here, how many people do you expect to be in the room? Because you've got a very unique situation.
We should have had about 12, but I think we had 9 or 10.
No, but 12, how many cohorts do you have? And then remember, you have a project, which is what you would expect to be in the room.
Yeah. For the project, we would like to have 18, and then the number of cohorts, Maria can answer that. Maria is on the call.
So I'm expecting Zambia to influence that number, and I'm not seeing it because we have a very awkward result. We have a numerator that's bigger than the denominator. And again, data speaks for itself. You know, if you're just hitting the numbers and you're really not putting things into the right context, then things show up for you. Yeah. So I don't even know where to take this conversation. Steffi says maybe a follow-up question would be in countries where the M&E tools are mature. So Steffi is already beginning to analyze for us. Yeah. Why do we have such low attendance for M&E training? So for instance, from South Africa's side, we know today we have so many cohorts today morning that are running. We've actually said we're going to have our own training. Think of the number of cohorts you have in your country. That's fine. Okay, that's okay. But it's already telling us that this is where we really need to be putting our mind. We need to say to ourselves, of the people in my country, how many should be at the training? Then we zero in on a number, 30, for example. Of the 30 that should receive the M&E training, how many are actually in the room? And then it will tell every country team leader how they're performing. So last question, in regards to this scenario, what percentage of those that support the M&E function today are being trained today? So let's see your country results. I'll tell you, mine are not very good, but I know the reason why it's not good. We've actually excused them today. So Steffi, if you can, on my behalf, because I can't, I don't want to be, okay, 50%, fantastic. 51%, which is great, but only 4 people have responded. So this is the other thing about data. There are 63 people in the room and only 6 people have responded. It's not convincing me that this is the representation that we should be having in the room. That's how we use data, the responses. 42%, that's a good performance, but only 8 people have responded. Okay, 42%, only 10 people have responded. So Rita is ambitious. She goes for a high level of feedback. I want some more feedback, fantastic. Okay, we're seeing 13 people have responded and the number is hanging around 40%. Okay, 41%, 13 people have responded. So I don't know whether the issue is the tool or whether we actually don't want to report. Yeah, 38%, 37%. It's coming slightly low, yeah? Okay, 15 people have responded. We're at 37%. Can I get to 20? Can I get 20 responses? What percentage of those that support the M&E role or function are being trained today? Patience is asking, do we know how many people support the M&E function? So Patience, I had said in South Africa, I take every cohort and what I do is I multiply it by 3 because there's a coordinator, there's a mentee coordinator, and there's a mentor coordinator, and each of those have a role that contributes to M&E. And then I add our directors. Okay, so for South Africa, it's about 30 people. Okay, so I see 18 responses. Then help me mute. There's someone who is interfering with the sound. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. Is there a baseline standard of how many people should support M&E? It's going to depend on your country, and we're about to get there. Okay, okay. So we had 19 people, we had 38%. So we're saying that we have about 38% representation from each of the countries over here. We know that the smaller ones, the ones that maybe have very few groups, possibly Pakistan, possibly I think Algeria, France, they probably have over 50% representation here today. But then you have guys like, say, Uganda, you maybe only have about 20 or 30% that are in the room today. So that's how you use your data. And the question will be, why is the performance only at 38%? Diana, why is it only at 38%? I suspect your answer is similar to mine. Namuchana? Country team leads, Lillian?
Not everyone is here. We're running cohorts.
You're running cohorts. So now you're explaining your performance, right? You're explaining your data because people are busy today. So we'll have to do a future training for them. Yeah. So Namuchana, Lillian, what was your performance and how did you do? Lillian from Botswana. Lillian from Botswana, if you're on mute, unmute yourself. Just help us understand what your performance was and how you did. Mimi, if you're there, please also help us.
Hi, Rita. Performance in terms of, sorry, I missed that.
The representation of people that support the M&E function that are in the room today.
Okay, today we have 10 people coming
how many
from,
would you expect?
Out of 20.
That's very good.
Much
it's 50%, yeah. 50%. Okay, so your performance is pretty good today. Why do you think it's good? Lillian, you've gone silent.
Yes. Performance in terms of today, I think attendance from the ladies, we've been communicating this for a very long time. Okay. And some couldn't join us because of the internet issues. I think 2 dropped out, so yeah.
Okay, so you can explain your results. So that's the other thing, is that when we do M&E, it's not just about slapping the numbers over there. You must be able to explain them. One last, so this dialogue has been around quantitative. Here's a question around qualitative. What is your main role in your G4G country team? So this is the last of the questions. Keep posting the link. We'll keep posting the link down. That's the last of the questions. What is your main role in your G4G country team? And here we're taking a poll of who is in the room. Yes. Okay. So we have a lot of mentors. We have a lot of committee members. Okay. 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 So we predominantly have committee members because we have a number of country team leads as well. Fantastic. Okay. Then we have, yeah. Okay. So a lot of mentors. Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of spread out. Okay. So we have fewer mentees because as would be expected, we don't have too many mentees that would be supporting the M&E role. These are probably people who have an interest in it. But the country team leads, we needed more of them in the room today because who is going to oversee what is happening within M&E within their country? So this dialogue that's happening right now is a qualitative question. Yeah, like for me, I would analyze it qualitatively and I would say that, okay, it makes a lot of sense that you have the country team leads and committee members over here because they are responsible for the reporting function within the question. Okay, okay, where are we? We're at 27. Okay, Alan has brought the comment about explaining the data back to the thing we talk about under art of communication, the why behind the what. So the what is the data. The why is your explanations for why what you are seeing. So for instance, we see a very high representation of committee members and country team leads because they need to be here. So indeed, it goes back to some of the principles that we teach at Girls for Girls. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up. Sorry, the switching between slides. So as I wrap up, the things that we have talked about, that results you can only make sense of results when they are put into context. I think that's the first thing that we learned, that it's not enough to just say, I have 90 mentees in Algeria. You know, out of how many did you target? The qualitative information, the why that Alan has just pointed out, the why explains the what. The qualitative information helps us better understand the quantitative data, but not only just to put it into context, but also to be able to use it to improve performance. But M&E data is useless if you're going to collect it 4 years from today. Because if you collect it 4 years from today, it's a bit late. That bus left the station, yeah? M&E data is important when it is collected in a timely manner and when it is analyzed as soon as possible. Some people collect information, collect, and they'll tell you, oh, we have data. But if no one is looking at that data and saying, what is this data telling us in a timely manner, then you're not going to help each other. And really, then it's a waste of time and a waste of effort. The last message I have for all of you, that the M&E data is going to be, it will be powerful if you use it within your country, but it will be more powerful if all of us collect it and then we are sharing information across countries. So for instance, we do it a lot with Kenya, with Uganda, even the team that is going to be training today. You're going to see the diversity that is coming over here, because it means that if South Africa stumbles, then we should quickly pass on that message to Kenya, to Uganda, to Pakistan, to Kuwait, so that they don't repeat the mistake. That's one. Two is the fact that G4G has a global agenda. So it doesn't make sense if you only have 2 countries that are reporting very good M&E data, and then 2 out of, I think we're 24 countries now. So 22 countries are not bothering to report. It means that it makes it very difficult for Izana, who is our CEO, to say, oh yeah, indeed, we're getting the cohort activity that we need. So my call to action is this, that all of us in our own small little way need to motivate to collect, report, and analyze data in a timely manner, and for all of us to join our hands in doing it. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, take any questions, clarifications that you may have before we pass it on to the next section. I know it's taken a little bit of time, but I needed to get you into the M&E mode and to start getting you guys thinking about how well you're doing. We are collecting data. How well have we been contextualizing the data? We are collecting data, maybe we are contextualizing it. How well have we been explaining the data? Over to everyone. Any questions? Diana, you have your hand up. Shoot.
Yes, I want to share my experience that for the longest time we collected data and it was beautiful and it was amazing. And then I had to learn that this data actually needs to, for those who don't know me, I'm a country lead for Uganda, one of the country leads. And I had to learn to begin to share this data with the cohort leaders and then to begin to help them talk through that data. So if you have 10 mentees giving feedback in a cohort of 50, what does it mean? And it also means that you're not talking to the ladies. I mean, how do you know what they're thinking? How do you know what they're saying? But also being able to understand what is in the mind of the mentee as they go through the program. So I was one of those, largely collecting data and feeling very satisfied. So those tips and tools, I think as we share the tools, we're also going to share how do you actually make sure that that data is analyzed and used.
Thank you for sharing that, Diana. Because I think it's very powerful. Uganda, I think, remains in the lead for all of us. So for you to be able to share that with us, we really appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Someone, Dorothy asks, could you please comment a little bit about the sustainability aspect? Okay, sustainability. So I talked about the fact that I look at sustainability in two ways, and I'm in a room with very smart women. Feel free to add. Sustainability first is the sustainability of the impact of G4G on the mentees. Alan always reminds me, and the mentors. What do I mean? That if I meet a mentee that graduated from G4G in 2019 and I meet her in 2025, or maybe I'm sitting in an audience and she's addressing us, and I can see that she's communicating persuasively, with clarity, she is inspirational. That for me is sustainable. It's a sustainable intervention that we had. In other words, she didn't just come, listen and say, oh, I need to tell my story, I need to do this. 6 months later, it's gone. Yeah. Sustainability, another example I can give you. For instance, applying some of the frameworks, take the negotiations framework that we learn. If I walk into a room and I meet this young lady who says to me, by the way, 6 years ago, I sat in a G4G module and I went through the negotiations and I can see her applying it. That is sustainability. It means that the lessons stayed within her. So that's one way I explained it. The second part of sustainability now came back to the operational aspects of G4G. How do we make sure it perpetuates? I'm not going to be here in 15 years' time doing what I'm doing right now. Diana is not going to be doing the same thing. How do we make sure that, as we expend our energy, we're lifting other women up, so that this G4G movement not only, is self-perpetuating, but that it's growing at the same time. So that's, for instance, one of the big things, the big sustainability items that we look at from an operational perspective of G4G is how many mentees do we plow back as mentors? How many become mentors? Because it means that those girls then begin to pick up on the journey and they set up their own circles and G4G begins to grow as a movement. Does that make sense? Okay, it does. Okay, okay. Mabel has a question, then we'll go to Margaret. Mabel?
I just wanted to ask 2 questions. The first one is to ask you, since we are not the first people to do mentoring programs, and then when we look at the framework that you shared before, in terms of how imagine that's the log frame. You said that we would measure the impact at the tail end, like like after a long time. How would we then know that as a result of our interventions, we are the ones responsible for that impact, knowing that there are also other people who, even our own mentees, may be customers too? That's the first one. Mm-hmm. The second one is to say, for G4G, how long do you think the impact indicator should, in terms of the period before we measure impact, how long should it take us to do that? Thank you.
Very good questions. And these are questions that normally come in relation to impact. Impact cannot be a direct attribution to one intervention. Impact builds on others. And that's why, for instance, when we're engaging with the girls, we don't pretend and say, we're going to help you in all aspects of your lives. we're very clear about which aspect it is. So for instance, there is, if I take the Asnath Mahapa Foundation, who is one of our cohorts over here, set up by Asnath, and they focus on STEM. They're teaching the girls about sciences. They're doing extra homework, extra curriculum, but they're focused on the school side of things. They then are adding girls for girls, so that they address the confidence aspect of things. They're now addressing communications aspect of things. So what some people might call the softer or traditionally untaught items within the school program. So if you take the school program where they're teaching these girls how to be better at sciences and maths, and then you add the G4G program, we still should see the effect as influential. So that's the trick about impact. Impact is not directly attributed to only one intervention. It normally is a build-up of others, but we can say we are part of it, because when we come to do the impact assessment, the questions that we ask relate back to the modules and the methodology that we applied. And we're able to say, for instance, when she says, I have built confidence, we say to her, share your story on how you built confidence. And you're listening in to see whether her confidence building, she's listing or identifying things that come from the G4G module. Maybe she might list other things that come from somewhere else. Because I went through that sciences and math class, my knowledge improved, therefore my confidence grew. Then you're able to attribute and say, oh, okay, there was some attribution over here. And then there are others you'll meet that say, it's because of G4G I am where I am today. So that's the trick with impact indicators, is that it's normally a consolidated effort of many other things. So other mentoring programs are happening. All of us are aiming to complement each other. Some of these mentoring programs don't only target women, they also target other people. So that's where it would be. Regarding your question on impact, I think we can measure impact after 2 years. And it's something that we are trying to plan for, to be able to do that. And we'll do that impact evaluation at a global level. I've overrun my time. So I'm going to take one more question, and then I'm going to pass it over to Margaret. My apologies to my team. Margaret?
Hi, Rita. Thank you so much for the presentation. I always love listening to your talks. And this, I feel, is a very important thing, M&E. So my question is, Girls for Girls targets different age groups. We have university, we have secondary school, we have the corporate. So I'm just wondering, is there a particular impact that we're looking for based on these different groups? Because the overall impact, yes, is leadership positions and influential leadership positions. But then what exactly do we want to see from these university girls or these secondary school girls? Are there levels that we should expect as the G4G? Thanks.
Yes, and it's a very good question again. And what you're talking about is data disaggregation. We should be able to say that, and that's why you see us in our baseline forms, we ask the age groups that they're at, we ask about their professions. We're going to ask the same questions under the evaluation, so that we're able to then ring fence and say, for instance, amongst the girls 15 to 19, we're seeing them step up into, the school council, the prefect body, yeah? For those ones, that is leadership. They're stepping up, and that's what we would expect for that particular age group. If we then take the demographic, I think, for example, Uganda has the 30 to 40-year age band. Of course, the standard is going to be different. So when we do the evaluation, the questions are the same. But because of the way we collect the data, by the age bands, even by profession, we can, for instance, say all the women who are working within the legal field, how have they progressed higher? What's the leadership manifesting as? So in your evaluation, the important thing is not just to ask the questions. You will always see the starting point of the evaluation. We ask about demographic data. Where are you located? Yeah? So for instance, we can differentiate between people who are based in cities, people who are based in different countries, people who are based in rural areas. We want to be able to differentiate by age group. We want to be able to differentiate even by country, to say, okay, maybe we're seeing a bigger impact happening in the different countries. So the demographic is what allows us to take the responses from everyone and interpret it by specific sectors. Margaret, I hope that makes sense. So that, for instance, I know you deal with the girls at MUBS, right? The Makerere University, the School of Public Health, right?
It's College of Health Sciences.
Sorry, yes, College of Health Sciences. So we can then come back and say, the girls in College of Health Sciences, they're a particular cohort. They are from the sciences field. What journey should we expect to see them going? Maybe to become eminent researchers and things like that. Eminent influential researchers, people who are groundbreaking, maybe doing innovations and things like that. We can then set parameters in that regard, which will be very different than, you remember you guys have a project of the ladies who were doing the stone crushing. Those ones, I think we're encouraging them to take an entrepreneurship journey. So as long as you can disaggregate your data, you can then plot that leadership journey differently and over time measure them. Last point I'm going to make, just because you've evaluated one person once doesn't mean you can't come back to them. So for instance, we have a plan in South Africa. The girls we evaluated in 2019, we're going to keep going back to them. In 3 years' time, we're going to come back to them because we expect that their influence is going to change as they progress. Their influence as a university student will be different than when they're a manager, for example, in a bank. So that journey and their impact will be measured differently depending on where they are, okay? I hope that makes sense. This is now a very detailed M&E discussion, and thank you very much for it. So I'm going to apologize and close off here. Yes.
No apologies. One last question, which I think is critical as we go into the tools and as we go into the actual monitoring space. And Aki asked, I sent it to you directly, but she asked, can you use data from countries, cohorts to mitigate risks, except e.g. low attendance by mentees, if you share your data? And you spoke to it a bit, but maybe you can just bring it together and lead us into the next space.
Sorry, what's the question?
Can you use data from other countries, cohorts in your country to mitigate risks? For example, low attendance by mentees. If, her question was, if we share this data, can it actually impact me and help me?
That's a really good question. And that is a very practical person. I don't know who asked that question, but that's a very practical person. And that's why you see us, we share our reports. We put them on the mentors groups. I don't know who reads them, but we share with you. We tell you, like for me, my heart was broken. The recent athlon cohort, 50 something girls signed up. On day number 1, I think we barely had 41. And then we said to ourselves, oh my goodness, what happened? Before we even had the first session. So we dug. Guess what? Equipment. They didn't have equipment. And then there was an issue. Some girls didn't get the data. So immediately we got feedback. So for me, immediately I can say, to you, this is my lesson that was learned. Then others will say, but then we suddenly saw a drop session 3 or session 4. And people will tell you, maybe my mentor put me under pressure. We see that feedback coming back. And that's why we read it. We collect feedback from the girls. We aim for 100% collection. We analyze that information. We put it in the report so that the mentors, and we hide the identity, the mentors themselves must read it. And we share it with the countries, with other countries. We share it with Uganda, we share it with Zambia, so that hopefully someone is reading that report and can say, oh, okay, if you put the girls under pressure, if you're asking them to do so much homework before they come in for the session, if you're not doing role plays and not engaging with people, that is what leads to low attendance. So yes, definitely, that information should be able to help everyone across the globe. Okay, and the other powerful thing is that, because, let me go back to the demographics. If, for instance, you're running a cohort on high school girls, read the reports from other high school girls from other countries. Read Aisha's report from Pakistan on high school girls, because that's who you want to compare yourself against. If you're running a cohort for young professionals, it doesn't help you to look at, at the high schools. Maybe you'll learn something, but try and find people who are like you. And I think that's part of this M&E network. Get in touch with each other. Call and say, hey, Rita, I hear you're doing a high school cohort. Please, let's talk. Can we learn? I saw this in your report. I really need to understand it. So please go ahead and do it. Then we're going to see and reap the value of M&E. Okay, thanks so much. So over
thank you, Rita.
To you, Diana. Sorry, thank you. Okay.
Mary's on. I think we should just all stretch. Just put your hands up, stretch. And as my yoga teacher says, sway in the wind like a palm tree. So sway to the, and then sway to the, and then sway forward, and then sway backward, and then shake, 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 shake. All right. Flowers to you, Rita, flowers, and Mary receiving you with lots of excitement.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right, let me stop sharing my screen for a second. Welcome. I'll be taking you through the registration, that is the baseline, registration and the baseline. So I'll just share my screen in a short while. Rita talked about the input when she was doing her presentation, and part of the input is the recruitment. We are looking at who are going to be our mentors, and we are also looking at the mentees that are going to be joining our training. So we are asking ourselves, why do we need registration? Why do we need the baseline? Basically, we want to know the age groups of our mentees, want to know the age groups of our mentors. You need to know their background information. You want to know how to inform the activities that you'll be having in your country for each cohort. You want to know, you want to be able to have some comparative information after an intervention. Is there a change from the information you gathered at the very beginning? You want to be able to see how your process is running and how that is changing. So, but who is also involved in designing this particular registration? So we have the coordinator, M&E coordinators. So there's an assumption that every country has an M&E coordinator. If not, you do have a focal person, or you have the country team lead who actually does the development of this particular tool. But also thinking of who is going to be using this particular tool. So mainly they're going to be used by the cohort coordinators and the circle leads. So how is this done? So we are expecting that we'll be using I don't know why, we'll be using the Google form. All of us, it is easy to use. It's cost friendly, actually doesn't cost you anything. So it's available for all of us without any cost to any country. So we are looking also at when should this be done, particularly the mentor registration form. So the mentor registration form is usually done in the last quarter of the year so that you have information at the beginning of the following year. So by December, this should have been done. And it should have been done by your focal person. Always get to know who is going to be able to do this for you. So you may have an M&E coordinator. Probably at the end of today, you may decide to have an M&E coordinator, someone who is charged to do that. Then get to know exactly who is going to be using it so they can also be able to understand and also participate in the training. Why do we need a mentor registration form? This supports our recruitment drives, and it also helps us to be organized so that we can know, we can have all the information we need about our mentors. What are their professions? Why are they interested? How did they join the G4G? How did they get to know about G4G? It will provide for you background information so that even when you're matching mentors with mentees, you at least know how suited they are to a certain cohort. You also get to know their preferences. So which cohorts do they prefer to join? What are their meeting times? When can they be available? Remember that since most of the mentors are volunteers, they are busy. So when can they be available so that when you're organizing your cohorts, at least it is aligned to the times that they are available. And you want to know, how did they join G4G? How did they get to know about your G4G? Is it through your social media? Is it word of mouth? So this can be information that is given to your marketing team or your communication team, where to be able to sensitize mentors to join the program. So then we are asking ourselves, what exactly is this form providing? What kind of information is it providing? So first of all, as I said, in the question, why is the demographic information. You want to know their names, you want to know their contact details, their professions, and even locations, areas where they are. You want to know what roles they are interested in besides being mentors. Do they want to lead cohorts? Do they want to join the committees? How can they support your G4G program in your country? That is very important. So what you provide in this particular form, you can be able to customize this to suit your country. But there is basic information and basic questions that should remain in that particular form. So just think about the 4 questions. Think about the who, the when, the why, and the what. So in the next one, I want us to do an exercise. I want us to go through the form, but I want us to go through the form together. So I'll ask someone to post for me this link in the chat box, the link to the folder. Rita, you can do that for us. You can post the link in the folder. When you click on that link, it will take you to this folder. So I hope, is someone posting for us the link there? Thank you, Rita. So click on that link. It will bring you to this folder. When you get to this folder, click on the template G4G Mentor Sign Up. Double click on it to bring you to this particular form, the G4G Mentor Registration Form.
Could we check to see, are people able to access it?
Are you able to access it?
You can use your emoticons or your reactions, like to say, yeah, I'm able to access it.
So I think the link we'll post there, Rita, is to the folder itself. I think it's gone to the form for mentee.
Yeah, I'll put it in the form. Yeah, you want to the folder. Sorry.
Yeah, to the folder itself. Okay, so if you get to the folder, the drive, then click on the mentor registration form, and it will bring you to this form here. Okay, so you can see from this particular form, you will collect the email addresses of your mentors. You'll get the demographic information, that is their names, their telephone numbers. This is specifically for your country. So you get to know their occupation and why they are interested in the mentoring. You really want to know why they're interested in the mentoring. And then maybe for your country, you have several cohorts that are already existing. Then you ask them to choose which cohort they would like to belong to. So you list all of them. Over here, we have an example from South Africa. And then you want to know, do they have experience in mentoring? Remember that you'll be organizing a training. So you really want to know whether they have mentored before and probably where they have mentored before, not necessarily in G4G. Then the next question, you want to really know whether they have participated in any training, particularly the G4G training. Are they prepared to mentor within the G4G? And then you want to know whether they are interested in joining any training. So as you organize, you also want to know how many you'll be organizing for. Remember, we are doing this at the end of every year, and we need to plan for the year. So this information is useful for each country and so that they can prepare their mentors. Then you also want to know how else can this mentor support the G4G in your country. So you ask them, you already know the activities where you need support, where you're lacking in personnel. So you want to know who can fill that particular area so that you don't have the same people doing the same work, and so that you can also be able to expand. You also want to know, how did they get to know about G4G? So for your marketing purposes, when you want to recruit, so if they did LinkedIn, then that means you need to do more promotions in LinkedIn because you're attracting a certain criteria of mentors. If they're social media, then you get to know how you can be able to use this social media to your benefit. So for the communication committee, for example. So now you have this particular form. This is South African. You want to have this for your country. So what I'll ask you to do is just click on the 3 dots at the right-hand corner. If you come to the right-hand corner, I hope everyone is seeing my screen. I can see 2 hands raised up. So I don't know that, Rita, you can see some of the questions. Come to the 3 corners. I want us to show you how to save this, so that, because the drive we have accessed is a general drive for everybody, and you want this in your own drive. So if you click on the 3 dots on your right-hand corner, then make a copy. Click on make a copy. Then
hi, I'm sorry, Mary. Hi, Mary. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Roslida. I have no access to the folder. It's asking that we need to be given access.
I'm busy giving access. So we had actually shared the link before.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm giving access. It's coming slowly. Sorry about that.
Okay. I hope you can all access the drive, and then to the mentor sign-up form. So let me know if you have a challenge. So just look at the form. You want to customize this or to contextualize this to your country. So you'll make a copy of it by clicking on the 3 dots on your right-hand corner. Make a copy, then name this, delete the first copy, then name it 2021, then you can put an underscore, then put your country, like I've put Kenya. Then you click on the folder and select where you would like to save it. So there's an arrow pointing to your left. You can click on that arrow until you get to probably your drive on your laptop or on your computer or even on your phone. So if you click on the arrow that's pointing to your right, it will take you to your drive. Then you can select the folder where you want to save this. You can also create a folder there if you want and call it G4G. Okay, then you click OK, and you'll have saved your copy in your computer.
We still have access. Oh, anyway.
Okay, ladies, you will get access. I promise you that we have the tools, and what will happen is after this session, we will definitely give access to send you the link with access, and we shall also send it to your country leads in case there's any confusion, in case you have any concerns. And I also just want to echo that the ladies presenting are available to come into your countries to work with you on the more practical aspects and make sure that you're comfortable. Just for purposes of this session now, let's just go with that tool that is being shown by Mary, and you will get the documents.
And I'm sure that
I saw you put your hand up.
Yeah, we'll support you in ensuring that you have the tools, and also the folder was shared for the pre-preparation for this. So the folder is still available, and I think we all have access to it. So then we have the mentee registration form. So the same thing, you go through the same process to be able to contextualize this, but I'll take us through the mentee registration form so that we can see what is the data that we are collecting from the mentees. So it takes a while to load up. But basically, we also have the demographic information from each mentee. We want to know who they are. We want to know their telephone numbers. We want to know the age group. That helps us in getting to know how we design according to age groups. We want to know if they have any disability. Then we want to know where they are available to be mentored, in which cohort, and probably which area they are located in. So again, this depends on your country. Maybe you don't have cohorts in certain areas, so you'd like to know how you structure this. Maybe it's according to area and not according to the existing cohorts. Then which months would they be available? So you select the dates when they are available, because sometimes maybe they're students and they may not have time. So you really want to know when they are going to be available for that. And then you want to know what time is convenient, so that at least you have as much participation as possible. You don't want mentees missing out because they had chores or something like that. You want to know whether they have a device that would allow them to participate in online cases. But again, here I will emphasize, the pandemic made us go online, but probably this is not a possibility for you. So you would also want to know, you'd have to think about how you ask this particular question. If some of them don't have devices, then which question would you put over here? Then if it's online, the virtual facilitated sessions, you also want to know which network they belong to, because you'll be sending airtime to them. But what if you have a face-to-face session? What if you're not going to be doing virtual? Then you want to know, where are they located? So probably here you'll ask, where are you? And then you want to know, because you want to know whether you'll have to provide, how much you'll have to provide for transport, if in your country you're providing transport for them, or even selecting a convenient location for them to be meeting. Then you want to know how they got to know about G4G. So again, this is useful information for the purpose of the marketing team. Then you want to know whether they are on social media platform. Again, remember, we want to continuous building communities of support. You want to continuous communication. So you want to know how well can you communicate with them. So basically, this is the information that you need in your country. This is important for your country. Then at the global level, section two is very, very important. These questions have to be standard for all of us. And these ones normally help us in designing the kind of activities we want to have for impact. So you want to know their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. You want to know what fears, challenges, and anything that can hinder them from pursuing their goals or their dreams. And then you want to know what is the expectations they have in G4G. Were they interested in joining G4G? And then you want to really know how socially aware they are. So what barriers do young women face in their communities? Something that that will be addressed within the mentoring program. Then you get to know whether they have role models or mentors, people who have helped them in the past. You want to know whether they are in leadership positions in their countries and the roles that they have. So basically, this information in the section 2 helps you in designing the kind of mentoring program that you have, to decide on the activities, and also to decide on who your guest speakers are going to be. So let's think about this, and probably if you have any questions, then we can answer to the questions that you have.
Have we lost Mary?
No, I paused. I asked if there are any questions. We've gone through the tools, through the 2 tools, if they have any questions.
Mary, please, if you can, go to the actual site, because there's a major error that's being made, and I want you to be able to show it to everyone. The saving protocol was not observed. Huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is classic. And then people start asking, where is my folder? I saved it. Okay. Can I show my screen?
Yes, sure.
Because this is lesson number 1. Do you guys see that? Do you see all these copies? Yes. So you're then going to start asking, but where is my G4G baseline? I saved it. I know I saved it. Yes, you saved it, but you saved it on someone else's folder. Currently, this is our training folder. So this is a really good illustration of how sometimes things go wrong. Then your responses start coming in. The mentees are compliant, and you don't know where that data is. So the how to save the document is critical.
All right, Rita, can I use you, or is there another participant available to use to just demonstrate how to save onto their computer?
I think Kini is supposed to be doing that session. We skipped it.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So if we're done with this session, maybe we go back.
Because there's a question from Alan, how do you ensure that not made on the global? So I don't know that we wait for Kini to respond to that.
Sorry, what was Alan's question? Making sure changes on that read and save.
So Kini, I responded to Alan's question, but she's saying that, Rita, I'm going to call you back. Yes, she's saying that how do we make sure that as we all use these tools, that we are not inputting data which is going into a global, the links that we're sharing. And I indicated that we are going to ask everyone to make a copy and then rename it and work out of that copy, but you're going to take us through that. So briefly, as you pull out your tool, which you're going to share, the feedback tools, you will just show us how to make a copy, you'll demonstrate it, you will rename it, let's call it, rename it Uganda, and then work through that so that everybody can get a visual. But again, I want to echo that for the practical aspect, we will work with your country teams, we'll work with your cohort teams to make sure that you're able to work these documents comfortably. I know we've been culprits in using the global tools and not making copies. So we'll be happy to come down to your level. So Kini, welcome, and over to you to take us through the next set of tools. Ladies, remember your current role, put yourself in the position of somebody who's leading a cohort, as a mentor in a cohort. You want to know before that day, you want to know before the cohort starts, who's going to show up? Or do you just want to walk in and it's guesswork? Oh, that girl, she looks like she has problems or not, So this just helps you come into that room ready to meet your audience and prepared to support your audience from their point. Kini, over to you.
Okay. Okay, so Mary has done, I think she did quite well. Sorry, in showing how you use the tools and how to save it. But I'll show one more time because I do think it's very important. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I brought up the wrong thing on my computer. Oops. Go on the M&E tools. Right. Okay, so our first step is, am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing. Our first step is going to be going to the Google Drive, which I think you all, was a link sent to everyone? Just want to make sure before I got here.
Yes, the link was sent to everybody. And what you can just focus on is they know they will have access. For those who don't yet have access, Rita has asked you to put your email in the chat function and you will get access. But for Kini, just assume everybody has access, assume you're the user and just demonstrate.
Okay, all right, so, okay. All right. Okay, so I'll just focus on creating. So with the one that Mary showed, which is the baseline survey, I just want to make a very important note. When doing that one, please don't change the questions there, especially with the baseline survey. I'm not sharing my screen still. Because those are questions that we have worked out. We've worked with different countries when we created the M&E program. So if you do want to perhaps ask us to change a question, please feel free to contact us, give us some feedback on it, and then we can change a question or make it a bit clearer. So just going back, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to show you a form which we often do want to change, or also this will help you in creating a different kind of form. So I'm going to do the feedback form, which is not here. Okay, give me 1 second. There we go. All right, so first step, you would go into the folder, as we have given you the link. Go into the type of form you want. All right, so this instant we're doing a feedback form. When I do the feedback, it will also help you in creating other forms. Okay, so let's do this one. So click on it. Okay, I will do it a bit slow. If you have questions, just type and then I'll read them afterwards. So the 3 dots, as Mary had also pointed out. Okay, more, all in my face. Make a copy. Okay, now that has to be your first step, because if you start editing, we're all going to see your information and then it becomes confusing. So first step, make a copy. All right, so you're going to change the name. Okay, let's say mentors feedback form. I'm going to say, I'm going to put my name. I am a cohort. Okay. All right, now where do you save it to? So this goes to Alan's point again. Where do you save it to? So if I just say, okay, now it's going to appear on the shared database and you're never going to find it. So click where it says folder over here. I wish I had like a pen. I'm busy drawing on my screen and no one can see me. Click on folder. All right, now you see it says back. Go back. Okay, now it's taking you to the M&E trees. Go all the way back. All right, until you're out, until it says select a file. Because what you do here is now you can decide where you want to put it, either on My Drive, shared drives, or your computer. So click all the way back to select a file. Okay, so we've renamed it. That's step 1. Step 2, where we're saving it to. Okay, so let's say, I'm going to put it on my computer. Okay. All right. Okay, this folder is empty. Oh, so I'm going to, actually, I can't do that, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go to My Drive. Okay, so on My Drive, so on your own personal Google Drive, you can organize your own folders and files. And that's something it'd be great to do, especially to separate cohorts. So I have alumni and I have diaspora because I did the diaspora last year. So I could save it there if I'm doing a feedback form specifically for my diaspora cohort, or for something, I don't know, your circle, if it's for a circle. So create folders in your own drive, not the shared drive. Be careful of that. In your own drive of whatever cohort or whatever circle you're doing. Okay, so let's put in diaspora. Okay, so now this mentors feedback form that I'm creating, the copy I'm creating, will go there. Yeah. Now, how you know that you've made a copy is that this happens. All right, it will start loading a different, I don't know why it's taking long. It will start loading a different one. So here's the template one, and here's the copy one that I've created. Okay. As you can see, it says mentors feedback form for me. Should I change? Now, if you still want to change the name, as I just did, you can still edit the name of the file for yourself up here in the corner. Okay. All right, and then you can also change the title here. Okay, now here are your base questions. Email, name and surname, you can have it together, have it separate when you're creating any type of form for yourselves. Usually if it's a cohort, we do indicate circles. So we write the circle names and then giving a scale so the girls can rate the sessions in terms of a feedback form. That's a good one to always have. And I'll talk about that a bit later as well. And then you can add and remove questions that we have here. So let me start with adding a question. Okay. Okay, let me try adding a question. So let's say at the end of the survey, I want to ask all the girls, what's their favorite color? Okay. So if you see on the side here, there are, if you look at my arrow, there are little tools here. And if you hold your mouse over it, you will see what they're for. So the top one is add a question. Okay. And it didn't add a question where I wanted to do. Where is it? Okay, they did it at the top, unfortunately. So so then you type the question, what is your favorite color? Okay. All right, so now you want to give them options. Okay, so if you look on the side, sometimes the Google form will pick up the type of question you have. Sometimes it will give you like the possible answers already, but sometimes it doesn't. So then you click here on the side where it says short answer. If you click on the arrow next to it, it will give you options. Okay, so for this one, I want them to have more, well, I want them to choose more than one color. Okay, so then I'll choose checkbox. If you want them to only respond with one answer, so one color, we'll say multiple choice. Okay, yes, let's do multiple choice actually. All right, so with multiple choice, so it already gives you option one. So we remove that and we'll say blue. Now you go to add option. Okay, click on add option and write green. If you want to say, let's say you've written 5 or a bunch of colors and you can't think of any more, but there might be one that you have not thought about, that they might, like magenta, then click add other. Then the person can select other on that one. If you want this to be a required question, meaning that they cannot complete the form without answering that question, they can't submit the form without answering the question. At the bottom here, there's a one, click here, required. And you'll even see when you click, you see for this one under email address, there's a red star, meaning the question is required. Okay, so you've made it required now. Okay, you can move the questions as well in the order, so you can move it down. Okay, so just the 6 dots, okay, allow you to move the questions up and down. All right. Sorry. Okay. Okay, that's one. Now, when you see the copy of the templates, it's pictures from other sessions. Just to boast, these are my diaspora girls from last year. But I'm sure not everyone wants the diaspora team to be on their header over here in the pictures. So to change that, you go to, it looks like a little art paint thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's, if you click here, if you see it, it says customize. So when you're customizing, the thing you want to change here is your header. All right. So to change your header, you go to image upload. I just want to show you it because there's multiple ideas here. The first is to choose one of the standard ones that the Google Forms offers you, okay? You can upload a picture, okay? So you click browse and then you go to your computer and you choose an image. Photos, if you have Google Photos, it's actually, I'll show you You can all see some of my family photos. But you can select one of your photos that you have on your Google Photos, if you have Google Photos. If you do not, it's not a train smash. Upload a picture, or you can select one of the themes. Okay, so that's just to change the header, because I don't think you all want the pictures we have. Okay, so I covered that. And then you can change the theme color if you want. I usually change the theme colors because I work with colors with forms. So it makes it easier for me to remember which form it was. Okay, so that's changed the image. Now, okay, so we've done your questions, you've made them required, you have added questions. If you want to remove a question, that's a step I missed, sorry everyone. If you want to remove a question, so I'm gonna go back to my, what's your favorite color? I've decided I don't want it. There's a little trash can, okay, that will remove your question. Or any of the questions that we have put in the feedback forms that you want to edit, you can remove that as well. And then clicking here to change the title if it hasn't changed completely the way you want it. Underneath, you can click to add a description to the form. So what is this form for? It actually sometimes helps, and maybe leaving like an email address if they have any further questions. Okay, now, next step. So because chances are you're not working on this form alone and you want other people to see the responses. So you want to add collaborators. So to do that, click on our 3 dots where we made a copy and go to add collaborators. Okay. So as you see, oh, sorry, let me go back. I have already added 2 collaborators, and you can change what they can do on the form. Editor means they can change questions, change responses. They have, full rights. So you can also make them the owner, and usually you can also make them a viewer. Okay, I guess this one's old. So another option usually is viewer. Viewer means that they can only see the form and do nothing else to it, or see the responses, sorry, and do nothing else to it. They can't edit it. And then how do we send this? Once we're all done with all of this fun time, click send. Okay, clicking send won't send it. So there's multiple ways you can send. The quickest way and most efficient way is to send a link. So you'll see the link is quite long, right? So shorten the URL. So click on shorten URL and then click copy. Okay, now you have a copy of it saved. So if you want to, I'm going to put in the chat. Okay, so you want to now save it. Send it. Where is our chat here? Okay, then I'll just paste it on the chat. Okay, so you've already copied it. Now you paste. Okay, that's in our chat. And that's how you send it. Okay. Any questions? I hope my steps were clear, but let me read if there are any. I don't know if anyone's picked up some as I've been speaking. Doesn't seem like there's any. Okay, any questions? No. Okay, I think I'm good.
In the group. And just Miriam has made a comment that G4G communications team is working on brand guidelines that will be shared to harmonize and include in banners. So that is well received.
Thank you, because I'm tired of finding pictures. Yeah. Okay, that'd be great. Okay, well, so as soon as that is communicated, then it'll be fine. All right, I think that is all. Am I right? Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kini. As Kini was presenting, I just wanted to emphasize 3 things. 1, depending on your role, now that you know, it does not necessarily mean that you will be the one modifying these tools. In Uganda, we have a country national admin who supports us to modify the tools. So if Gloria wants to start a cohort, Gloria will get a full set of tools that she will be able to share with her team and that her team will be able to feed into, but Gloria will not have to worry about the modification. But if we have, in this case, Primera is on the call, she wants to do something with women in business, she will generate a tool, get information, and work with them around, and that data will still be owned by G4G Uganda. So now you've been equipped. It does not necessarily mean in your country you're going to be the one changing the tools, but the most important thing we wanted to bring home is that you can edit the tools, you can make them applicable, they are yours. They don't belong to G4G, you know, but once they belong to your country and you're collecting the data you need, you're able to monitor and make the decisions you need. So I'm going to stop there. I haven't seen any specific questions, but Rita says we are happy to do one-to-ones in-country sessions with specific teams, both on the technical and on the know-how. Yes, so everybody says thanks. So ladies, we are now at 11:53 and the team is granting you a health break. I'm smiling. By the powers vested in me, we're going to take a health break for 5 minutes. Rita is going to play the music. I am going to watch the clock. Please take time off, stand up, get off your chair, get a drink, and then we'll come back exactly before the top of the hour at 11:59. Thank you so much. Please keep the questions coming. Please, if you think of something in the break, just come and post it and I'll pick it up. And when we come back, we have an interesting session.
Otimbi na timbelio. Wasafi. Ina. Soba no kakats. Lata. No kakats. Dizo. Odele mino na kwe. Osali no lokote. Otoki no kutute. Na pete kaga bongo. Yo pe ba pesa ya. Yo pe ba pesa ya. Cleopatra Mukula. Ase otele mino na kwe. Osali no lokote. Na motoki ya chibude. Wataka ule wewe. Yo pe ba pesa yo. Yo pe ba pesa yo. Les pacificateurs jusqu'au bout. Vital Kameni. Yuma no gagati. Zoba no gagati. Yuma no gagati. Zoba no gagati. OLK, initiative plus. Toza golia, toza gomela, toyena programme. Lilie, 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 yo pe ba pesa ya. Yo pe ba pesa ya. Kilo Bunda, Jean-Paul Bichweka. Obani bulo na 10, Olembino na 12. Dala baninga ba continue. Nasima tangwa sale yo pe ba futa. La haute gamme Elga élégance. Yo pe ba futa ya. Salomon Ben Salomon. Yuma no gagati. Zoba no gagati. Yuma no gagati. Hey, Zoba no gagati. Le MVP Serge Ibaka. Okay. Oya, Sukuma, we, Simba na washa moto. Sukuma, we, ambia walale watoto. Asacheza shubaka yoko. Sayoko, yani kama na chamba doko. Moko moko. Wape, wape, wape. Nasema wape, 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 wape. Sasa wape, wape. Sometaka sha, wape. Komesha, wape. Nyuno ya kwenye cha, wape. Nyongesha, wape. Rodia, matega, mikono juu. Yambu shusha chini. Leta tena juu. Shusha kwa kiuno. Tunanyatia, nyatia. Zaku nyatia, nyatia. Tunanyatia, nyatia. Zaku nyatia, nyatia. Tunanyatia, nyatia. Zaku nyatia, nyatia. Excellence ZK. La fondation DNT plus forte. Dala, the one and only. Le patron Boss, Abeda Chou. Papa Benjamin Wenga. Patty Benz. Aye.
Boss, Mama Dangote. Ricardo Momo. Doni Fumwe, salimia mkubwa fella.
Kindaki, Komeka Kutute, Afro Congo,
Le Grand Don Mendes,
le président Théobi Namungu, VIP Sans, Albert Mboyo, mon vieux. Molodoi leader.
Diana, are we at 5?
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I'm laughing because, you know, they always say Lingala songs are very long. For sure. Now I know, you know, one song, 5 minutes. Thank you, Rita, for that great innovation, you know, and that application of knowledge. As we go into the next session, ladies, I just want you to reflect again where we are at. M&E monitoring today for our cohorts. And the lady coming on next is called Judith. Judith is from Nairobi, Kenya. And she's going to be asking us to challenge what we know about M&E, what we know about monitoring, and how we use these monitoring tools. Judith, over to you.
Good afternoon and greetings from the Green City in the Sun. That is Nairobi. It's a pleasure having all of you ladies and me having a chance to talk with you. So my discussion is going to be very, light compared to what we have had. And I suppose we'll start with a small discussion. What is a myth? A myth, I read, is a belief that is held that is not true. And so we want to debunk some 4 myths that are common in M&E so that we can all get a better start at this. So to start us off in the chat, I would like us to all write one word of how we feel or what we think about M&E to start us off. What are our thoughts on M&E? Or our feelings on M&E, and I will read them out as we go along before we get on to the presentation. Ladies, knowledge, hard work, time consuming, commitment, keep it coming, performance, transparency, scary. Oh my goodness, needs keen thought, comes at the tail end of any project, very good. Accountability, rewarding, intense, consistency, hard work, reflection. So we have such a variety of thoughts of them, but all of them seem to be indicating work, and it's this laborious thing that is not necessarily what we want to get into. And perhaps after listening to the first the presentations by Rita and then practical examples by Mary and Kini, you may be thinking, what did I get myself into? But it's not that bad. It's actually quite exciting. So we'll now go into the presentation. And I will ask, I don't have rights to host the slides. Rita? You're sharing? Share the first slide. So we have very many thoughts about M&E, but it's not that bad. And I can't get my presentation out. And we have several myths regarding M&E. Myth number 1. Do we have it projected? Not yet.
Oh, you want us to project for you?
No, actually, we can talk through it, isn't it?
You need to make a co-host.
Yeah,
No,
I don't have co-host, but we can also
sharing
talk.
rights. I've given sharing rights.
I've got sharing rights?
Yep.
Okay, so then let me go to.
But if you want, I can run the slides for you, if it's easier
please.
for you.
Yes, yeah. Please. Okay, so myth. So we're going to go through 4 commonly held myths. And the first myth that we have is that M&E comes at the end of the cycle. And in fact, one of the participants actually did mention that comes at the end of the cycle. So let me start with just a very short story. If I want to go to Mombasa, I have decided I want to go to Mombasa. What do I need to do? I first need to find out where am I relative to Mombasa, because I could actually be in Mombasa. So I don't need a plan. And then when I figure out I'm in Nairobi, so relative to Nairobi, where is Mombasa? Mombasa is 500 kilometers away. What are the modes of transport? How do I get there? And all these are issues or elements that I need to think as I prepare to go to Mombasa. And next slide, please. I can relate them to some of the issues about M&E. M&E should be a process that we start right from the beginning. If I want to go to Mombasa, right from the beginning, I need to start to understand where I am and where Mombasa is relative to where I am. Where I am today, I can call a baseline. This is where I am. Mombasa is my target. This is where I need to go. And between here and Mombasa, depending on what the distance is, I need to start figuring out how I will get there. What is the best means? Walking 500 kilometers may not be the most optimal. I will get there perhaps 3 months down the road. Perhaps flying will be better because I'll get there within 40 minutes. So knowing where you are now, a baseline, is so important and is the beginning of the journey of M&E. And so it helps us find out where we are starting from, relative to where we want to go to, and then will give us the end picture. Did we get to Mombasa? Did we get to Mombasa in the time we thought that we would? And did we get to Mombasa with all the people that we thought that we would get to them? It is also necessary in my journey to Mombasa to also monitor. So am I at the halfway point? Did I want to be at the halfway point a month into my journey, a day, 20 minutes into my day? And this is the continuous monitoring and checking. You remember in the beginning, Rita talked about the pulse. This is it. I need to keep checking the pulse. Am I on the right direction? And am I going in the right way? So when I contextualize it to the G4G, we look at our specific countries. We've got our global objective, which is to reach 1 million girls. And for the countries, we have then, from that 1 million girl project, a target, come up with our own targets, which can be our Mombasas. And where are we now today? We have already had 2 cohorts and we have graduated 50 girls, for example. That is our baseline as of the 17th of April. So how are we going to get to 100 by the end of 2021 or 2022? And so we're going to get this data. We're going to get it from the cohorts, we're going to get it from the mentors, we're going to get it from the mentees, and together as a team, we're going to work on this, and we're going to be doing this regularly. Next slide, please. So why it is important to also then keep doing this throughout is we then know whether we are on track. If by about 20 minutes and I was flying to Mombasa, I should have been halfway, but 20 minutes into the flight, I'm not seeing anything close to the halfway mark. That's a point for me to stop and wonder what is going on. Did I have the right campus? I was supposed to be going east, but it turns out I'm going west. So collecting data and having the pulse checks regularly will help us monitor, are we in the right direction? Are we going at the right speed? And are we where we want to? So that is what, and in our cohorts, that would mean that at the end of each cohort, we find out from the circles where the mentees encouraged, what did the mentees learn, were they all participating, what did the mentors learn, and then we can bring it all together to even the the country leadership for the G4G so that we are able to make corrective measures. Rita mentioned in her presentation that they had a cohort of 50 that had registered, but the first cohort meeting, only 40 participated. Why? And it was through the pulse check, the questionnaires, that they found out that, oh, they could not come because they did not have bundles, for example, for their network so that they could meet electronically. So these are the issues that need, and this is why monitoring is done throughout. So the myth that M&E is done at the end, not true. It is done throughout. I have a question here. Please highlight aspects of milestones as we have a multi-year output. Milestones are important. So when you're planning, when you're doing the M&E has an aspect of planning. And I'll go back to my example of, again, I need to go to Mombasa. I am in Nairobi. I need to plan how I am going, with whom, and how long I intend to take. I also need to have, if I may call it, indicators that are going to show me or tell me that I am going in the right direction. Because I want, if Kenya is known for runners, for example, if I want to run to Mombasa, I need to have a consistent jog and a consistent pace so that at day end, the day before the target, I'm not making a mad rush down to Mombasa. So I need to kind of pace myself. So a milestone is a point at which I have said, by this time, in 20 minutes, in 2 days, I expect to have covered 5 kilometers. And that is my first milestone. I expect to have achieved 5 kilometers. At 2 days, 2 weeks, I expect to have achieved this or the other. And they're different points. So we can say if for a country, we're starting with 2 cohorts. After 2 months, we expect to have had 3 new circles established that are already doing registration with 20 girls each. So at the 3-month mark, we will look at this and say, where are we relative to this? We have a master M&E plan, which is already in place and has been shared with you. And you have looked at it as your country. And you have already decided that given that this is the master that we are running for our country, these are the indicators, or these are the expectations and goals that we're going to set for ourselves. So in this country, my country, Kenya, we have decided we're going to set 3 new cohorts based on the master plan that we have now customized for Kenya. So for the Kenya master plan. So in 3 months, I expect that we have registered 1 cohort. At the 3-month mark, I then need to check, have I registered the 1 cohort with 20 girls? Yes or no? If I have not, I need to understand why. And these are the questions that are going to keep rolling as we, to monitor me as a country and know how we are performing vis-a-vis the targets that we had set. I don't know if we have, if there are any other questions about this. What we can do is we can write them down. Somebody is going to be recalling them out for me at the end, and we can go to the second myth, and then we can see how we are going. Okay, so we go to myth number 2. Before we go to myth number 2, we have a question that we are going to be asking, and we want you to answer in a poll. Rita is going to set up a poll. Who is responsible for M&E in G4G? So we are going to have 4 choices that you can select one. So the first choice is me. The second choice is the person who is responsible for M&E. The third one is all of us. And the fourth one is, I don't know. So who do you think is responsible for M&E in G4G? And we're going to do this poll on Zoom. So you will go to your Zoom. At the bottom, you have poll, and you will click on the right answer. Okay, Rita, do we have any response?
We do. We have, okay, about 20 people have responded. Yes, so the 2 questions have come up. Huh?
Oh, the 2 questions can come up.
They have come up, yeah. So you can also walk them.
Okay, yeah, so you can also answer number 2 because then it's going to come up later. What do you need for effective M&E? So you can select as many choices as you feel are relevant. Their numbers, their thoughts, their observations, and their feelings. So which of these do you need? And we are going to discuss that a little later. But for now, the first question that we want the answers to are who is responsible for M&E?
Okay.
So what are we seeing, Rita?
For you to see them, I would need to end the poll. So we have about—
Have we all answered? How many people have answered the poll?
33 people have answered. We are
okay, ladies, let us keep going.
We are 50, oh, sorry, 33 people are looking at it. Okay, can you see, you can see the results, or you want to see the results?
We want to see the results, so we can close it.
Mary is a co-host, so she can see the results, but the rest can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've already shown them.
All right. So the first answer is who is responsible for M&E? 11% me. The M&E person responsible, 9%, 80% for all of us, and I don't know has nothing. Well, I'm so glad that we are all on the same page. We are all responsible. Back to our presentation. We are all responsible for M&E, and we're responsible for it at different levels. As a mentee, when you respond to your mentee questionnaires after each session, as a mentor collecting that data and also responding to the mentor questionnaire at the end of the cohort, to all the different committees and working groups that are set up, because all of these are needed. Next slide, please, Lisa. Because all of this information is what helps the national team as a whole to then make corrective measures. So there was a question earlier about if girls are not attending, what is the issue? This is where you will know, and this is where you are going to then start making corrective issues. It's also very important to collect this information because you then also collect the good things that have been happening, and collecting of good things and the lessons that you have learned is good, not only to show that we have achieved, but also to spread the word around in the community. When we're fundraising, you then say, look, we need to partner and fundraise with you because look at the tremendous work that we have done and look at the potential you have in partnering in such a good venture as we are doing this. The other thing about collection of data, it is so important that we are all involved, but make the data available to us in a very friendly manner. So if I told you we have finished, assuming we are in a cohort, this is the data we now have from our cohort. We have all here we have the questionnaires that have been answered. And then this is the book that actually describes
Did we lose? Did we lose Judy?
I think we did. I think she'll come back. But maybe, Rita, you can pick it up from there just to, as she gets back on. I know she'll get back on.
So, well, so that I don't take over her slot, I can address some of the questions that are coming in. So Belinda had asked a question about highlighting aspects of milestones. So we have a results framework where we have indicators and targets. I will be talking about where you find that information and even sharing those indicators with you. Alan makes a very important observation that sorry, and then I said that each country needs to now then take those indicators and targets and turn them into their own. But Alan warns that we need to put it into context, even within a region. The big countries like Uganda, we need to know what your contribution is. It can't be the same as, say, Botswana, that type of thing. Yeah. Okay. I was filling some time. Judy, are you back?
Yes, I am back. I am so sorry.
No problem.
So what,
they say you never apologize for your technology. Everyone goes through it. So please kick on.
This is life at this time. So anyway, so the message that I had here was that we should make our data friendly. Don't give us piles and piles so that all of us can enjoy the data and all of us can use it to inform what we're doing for G4G. Because one of the most important things we need to do is we need to make G4G evidence based, so that we're not just saying that we are reaching 1 million girls, or in my country, we're reaching 25,000 girls, just like that. We need to have the evidence. We need to show the numbers, and we also need to show the girls. We need to show the achievements we've had. And we also need to be honest and say we've had challenges like this, but this is how we've navigated, and this is how we've made ourselves better. So the next slide is myth number 3 that addresses the second question we had. What were the answers to the second question that we had about what M&E means? So what do you need for M&E to be effective? So 89% talked about numbers, 57% thoughts, 91% observations. Yes to all of them. And as we talked and as was discussed earlier by Rita in her first presentation, the base is numbers. Numbers are the base to M&E, to monitoring and evaluation. But if I say 5, what does 5 mean? If I say 500, what does it mean relative to what, describing what? I mean, 5 is just a number, 5 whatever it is. So when we now start, and 5 we would then term as a qualitative. It's a number, but it says nothing. We now need, it's a quantitative. We now need qualitative data so that we can start to explain what 5 is. So 5 are the number of girls that attended 5 cohorts in this country. 5 of them attended the 6 sessions or just 1 session. So then you start to build a story around this number 5. You then start to have observations. The 5 girls were bored through the first session, or the 5 girls were so engaged we could not stop the session. The 5 girls then went on and decided to become mentors and become a story. To become another cohort, or to then have 5 different cohorts. So when you're talking about M&E, you're not just engaging the numbers, you're engaging a lot of other feelings. You're engaging observations, you're engaging stories, you're engaging what people felt about it. You can say that, oh, like yesterday, we just had our last session in one of the cohorts, and on ethics, and they were like, this one is so hard because just absorbing it. So that was a good reference because that was the feeling. It was very hard for them to kind of absorb it. So as a Kenya team, we then need to go, okay, so then what are we going to do so that, yes, it's a difficult topic. Yes, it's difficult to digest, but then how are we going to start making it better for them so that the hardness is softened? Let's see our slides. So M&E is more than just the numbers. The numbers are the base that we launch on, but we move on from the numbers to start to have a table, to start to have a story, and a story that we can relate to other people so that the number 5 is not just a number. It is also important, even as we're doing the numbers, is that we express them differently. So if we're just saying 5 out of 10, sometimes it's good to have pictures with it. So sometimes it's a pie chart, sometimes it's a graph. And then I've seen in our country, sometimes we have a picture of somebody with a little blurb about what they said or what they saw or how they felt. So making it different so that you're engaging different senses makes M&E more attractive. And then it's not as boring as this, my M&Es for this cohort. So that is what is important about the numbers. A number is not enough. You need to know who is this number about? What is it saying about this person? When was it collected? How can I change this number? Or how can I make this number better? Or when am I going to change this? So it's the number is what provokes us into an action. So we now go to number 4. M&E is a boring job. M&E is not boring. And I think M&E is what helps us, we can go to the next slide, is what helps us innovate and grow. I said that our desire for G4G is to be an evidence-based organization, so that when we say something about ourselves, we're not just pulling things out of, out of the air. If somebody asks us, prove it, we are able to actually show these are the number of girls, these are where the girls are from, this is what the girls said, and this is where they have gone. So we want to show facts. And that is why M&E is important, because we're then able to give facts, as it were. It also helps us understand and see how we can improve ourselves, because as we get this data and as we start to understand the story more, we are then able to say, wait a minute, we can make this better by perhaps adding this aspect or that aspect. And these would come through from the questionnaires that we're responding to, talking to people, and them suggesting, making suggestions and putting the suggestions. So that is important. The other thing about M&E is that it will keep us on track. Remember the story I said in the beginning, I'm in Nairobi and I want to go to Mombasa. We may be going in we may be working very hard, but after 3 months, I find myself in Lusaka, which is not the destination. I have reached somewhere, yes, but Lusaka was not where I was setting out to go. So M&E is going to keep me on track so that I'm always about going to Mombasa. Where am I relative to Mombasa? Am I getting closer to Mombasa, or am I getting further away from Mombasa? And then I'll have to keep looking at my M&E plan. I'll have to look at my milestones. My milestones are my blood, my pulse rate, my blood pressure. I need to keep checking. Am I breathing? Is my heart going right? Am I where I'm supposed to be? So that is why it is important. And that is what is exciting. And the closer we get to it, the more excited we get about it. And then most of all, we are able to share our lessons, not only amongst ourselves, we share our lessons to other people. And remember when we talked about impact earlier, we are one of very many that is contributing to empowering young ladies and women around the world. How are we going to show our story, and how are we going to share this story? That is why it is so important to have M&E. So it's not boring. It's something that we should all be engaged in, and something that is going to help us achieve our goals. And that is what I have for you ladies this afternoon. Do I have any questions for clarity?
Thank you so much, Judy. You had me at M&E is not boring.
Yes.
That was one of the myths I completely debunked. And I loved at the beginning when you asked people to give feedback, there was some very positive feedback,
Yes.
Consistency, reflection, transparency, worth doing it. And I really think, this time is well spent. Ladies, I'm looking for your comments and questions. I know we had some which came through, but most of them are dealt with. So I think we can go to the next part of your conversation.
Okay.
And then we will be together.
So now this is going to be very interactive, and I would like to hear from the different countries represented. Who do we have represented here? We've got Kenya, we've got Algeria, France, we've got Malaysia, I think I saw. We have Zambia, Uganda, Botswana, South Africa, right? Are those all the countries?
Uganda. I'm
teasing you. Pakistan is here. Pakistan is here as well.
Oh, and Pakistan. So I want us to all have a discussion. And let me get my discussion up. So when we're looking at M&E, wait a minute, I'm getting my discussion. Just a minute. I would like to hear from each of the countries. And if you'll allow me, ladies, I will call on a country and then I will ask some questions. Now, the purpose of these questions are, one, is we want to learn from each other. But secondly, what we are hoping this will do is that it will start to initiate and, some dialogue within the country. So let this dialogue not end here. We are going to continue with this dialogue, and please continue to have the dialogue in country so that you're able to refine and get a better understanding. So I'll go to the first question. We are going to be open, we are sisters, and the purpose of sharing this is not to embarrass each other. It is really to learn from each other and to see what we have in each of the countries. I want to ask all of us, and each country, I suppose, can answer in the chat box. Describe how your G4G modules in your country are. Describe them. So are you running cohorts? Are you running circles? And how do you mobilize your mentors and your mentees? So Algeria, Pakistan, Malaysia, Zambia, Kenya. How do you do this? Botswana, Zimbabwe. Malaysia, are you here? Okay, South Africa,
you can hear from the countries. I think
okay,
I have representation. Let's hear from how they, let's hear from
yes. So Algeria, I am seeing Miriam, I'm seeing we run circles and have been mobilizing through word of mouth. Thank you. Botswana, okay. Zimbabwe, we are running cohorts online. And this is something that we've all had to develop since the COVID. We now have online, which is something I think that we did not know we'd ever get to. Botswana is also running in person and online. Good. So we have a variety of forms. I suppose if we'd had this training 2 years ago, we'd not have had online. Excuse me, we'd not have had online. And then Kenya say that they mobilize through WhatsApp and on social media platforms, and they're running cohorts. Oh my goodness, you've got these running fast and furious. So then there's also electronic media. So we have a variety of ways that one, we are running our cohorts, and two, that we are getting our message out to recruit our mentors and our mentees. So we have very many ways that we're doing. So now, when question number 2, still thinking about your own country, how do you collect, or do you collect data on mentors and mentees? How do you do so? And what kind of data are you collecting? When is it collected? By whom? Who keeps that data? And what do you do with that data after you've collected it? This one, I would like to have somebody actually switch on their mic and maybe their camera and describe to us what they do in their country. Tell us a story about your country. Pakistan, are you there?
There are people with their hands up.
I can't see any, okay. Aka, oh my goodness, I can't pronounce your name.
Yeah,
yes.
I can find. So at G4G in South Africa, we, after every single session, well, first of all, before you even register, you get a Google form link and you click on that link, and that's like your mentee baseline data information. And then they reach out to you to say, okay, we've allocated you to a circle or a cohort. Here the information is, and you just get put in a WhatsApp group with strangers, and then you guys start connecting. And that's how information is just given to us, is through the WhatsApp groups on a regular basis, because it's easier for us to communicate there. And then when the session happens, it happens online on Zoom. But after the session, like at least at most within 10 minutes after the session, we complete a Google form, mentors and mentees. And also if you attend an alumni event as well, you have to complete the standardized Google form. And then that goes to whoever's responsible for it. And I recall that happened after every single session. And I think we did complete at the end of our program that evaluation form for the I think it's called outcome or impact. I can't remember if that's been done already. I've done so many. So that's how it works in South Africa.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Flowers to Dalmini. I'll say Dalmini, that I can say. Asia, I want to hear from Asia. Are we still there? We have Pakistan, we have and Malaysia, Asia, and I can't see any of the hands up. But
I think
Asia.
Izana is in the room. She had actually put something down. So Izana is our CEO. It would be great to hear from her. Malaysia, Izana, are you there?
Yeah, I can see Izana, but Izana, can you hear us? Who was there from Pakistan? The name?
We have someone called Ghazali. She's been on from the beginning. I hope she can share.
Ghazali, can you say something? Okay, why don't we try Algeria? Mariam, es-tu là?
Oui, je suis là. How are you?
Oh,
how is everyone?
Very well. So
Good.
give us your experience.
Well, our experience is that for Algeria, collecting data is complicated. As you may remember, the country has gone through a lot of troubles, and that's why we can't even be set up under formalized under an organization form, because when you want to be set up as an organization, then the police has to be present. So people are completely not happy with that. So we had to do it like a bit under the radar, and also, so for us, building trust is beyond just the first session. It goes really, really beyond. So what we do is that we collect the data a bit on WhatsApp, just like that. And then after the sessions, people are not very familiar with the Google Forms and whatnot. So we use it more as a capacity building exercise, and we try to teach them how to do it. And I, as the country lead, because we have very small circles for now, keep everything at my level. But I've got a lot of requests to increase now when the country is opening up. Unfortunately, I'm no longer in Algeria, I'm in France. So we are trying to set up to work with someone that I'll be mentoring, and I'll come in and do the sessions with them. I virtually and then personally, and then we're shifting to really make sure that we include all this data and make sure that people share with us. We explain why we need the data. We explain that it's not being recorded just to have them recorded, and we're happy to maybe do it like anonymously, and that's something that we're kind of thinking of because of that, because of the impact of people are still very traumatized about being like almost filed, or that their information is filed somewhere and then it's misused. So we want to make sure that they're protected in that sense.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing what you have about Algeria. Ladies, the most important thing that Miriam has told us is that M&E adapts. And with M&E, it gives us info. We take it, it can be contextualized. Given our context, we are able to adapt it and to work where we are. So wherever we are, whatever situation we are in, we can adapt it to that particular situation and work the best we can, so that then we are able to collect data and move on from there. So that is a very useful lesson that we have learned. The other useful lesson I think we've learned about Miriam and also Dalmani is that it doesn't matter where you are. Dalmani, they're very advanced. And then Miriam, they're not as advanced. But that does not mean that either one of them is better than the other. They are good for where they are. So whatever station you're at, that is where you are. And that is where you need to collect your lessons, see where your strengths are, see where your weaknesses are, and start to build from there. It's a journey, and we keep building over and over again. And sometimes you may feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, but be encouraged because you started at point 0. When you're going over and over again, you've now come up to point 1. Over and over again, you come to point 2. So you're getting better and better, and your circle and your knowledge is growing bigger and better. I'm going to finish this short session now. We are going to share slides for you, and those slides have got a whole host of questions that we have discussed now, and you can sit down as your country teams and reflect on them. The most important thing is that be very honest with yourselves, look at where you can answer them, where you cannot answer, that's even an answer, because that tells you that's an area perhaps you need to think about and grow. And remember, it's a journey. We are growing up and up and up. And that's what we need to know. Thank you and all the best.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Judith, thank you for building up on what Kini started and Mary and Rita laid a foundation for us on. I'm telling you, I'm in this group, but every time I attend a training, I'm like, yes, in fact, it's okay. Adaptability, key, tick, you know? So for me, I'm really the biggest beneficiaries of all your combined wisdom. And ladies, I know you're like me, you know, your cup is sort of being filled up and your mind is being stretched. I want us just to start practicing the clap that we're going to do at the end for these amazing ladies. And I'm raising 2 young boys, and they taught us in their kindergarten to clap for them like this. So today, now we're just practicing. It's also to keep you energized, keep your body moving. And then when we're ending, my expectation is everyone will have their video on, everybody will be enthusiastic, everyone will be shouting. But it goes something like, pa, 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 pa. All right? Oh. Yes. So 3 pa-pa-pas and the final pa. So let's do it together. Pa, pa, pa. Yes. Pa, pa, pa. Third time. Pa, pa, pa. And a final pa. So thank you so much. And when we're finishing with that and flowers. So brace yourself. We will hand over now to Rita. Rita, please take us on and bring it together.
Thank you very much. Feeling the energy. I was like, that last one is fantastic. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end. It's been a lot that we have talked about. We've touched on tools. We've talked a little bit about indicators. Someone in the questions was asking about targets and things like that. So I guess the question is, where is all of this information pulled together for you? So this session that I'm going to run is to walk you through the documents that we had actually shared with you. So while a number of people have been asking about, send me the link, go back to your Zoom invitation, you will see the links are there. And once you send the request for access, I will grant it. And the same thing is there for these documents, the 3 documents that we are talking about. It's within that Google folder, okay? So this is the heart of everything. And if you have questions, ask. Feel free to ask in between this session and next session, because remember, this is only part 1 of monitoring. Next week, we are still getting back together. So there are 3 critical documents that you need to know about. One is what we call the results framework. A lot of people say, shouldn't you start with the M&E plan? No, we start with the results framework where the indicators are, because we start off in M&E, you ask, what do we want to measure? So that's what we look at first. We develop the results framework. Then we design the system around the results framework, which is embodied within the M&E plan. We say, okay, these are our indicators. These are the targets we want to reach. How are we going to be able to do it? Who are the people, the processes, the systems that we need? That description is within an M&E plan, and that one is a Word document. The results framework is an Excel document because a lot of it is numbers related. The third set of documents are the tools. For instance, what Mary showed you what Kinelwe showed you earlier on today. Those are the tools that enable us to capture and report the data against the targets that are within the results framework. So those are the 3 documents. Those of you who have ever sat in sessions with me, I love to talk about the principle of teach to learn. If you can go and teach as someone who was not in the session today about these 3 documents, you'll already have done yourself a favor, because if you can explain what is in these 3 documents, you're already beginning to understand the G4G M&E system. So very quickly, I'm going to walk you through them, the results framework, just so that you have a very good understanding of what they are. Like I said, it contains the key indicators for G4G, and I'm actually going to be showing these indicators to you. So for those of you who are like, where are the milestones? How are they spread throughout the year? It's coming. Give me a few seconds. The important thing to notice, and I think I said this in the beginning, we deliberately repeat ourselves. There's a set of indicators for each type of, if I may call it an activity area. There are sets of indicators for cohorts. How do we monitor mentees and mentors? There's a different set of indicators for training, etc. The other important thing is the discussion I think Margaret from Uganda had started discussing, the disaggregations of the data. Remember, it's not enough to just say, oh, we have graduated mentees. People will want to know. So for instance, we're writing a proposal the other day, and it was to Google, and we're trying to show that we're reaching a whole diaspora of women. The disaggregation, we can talk about age groups, we can talk about where are people based, countries, we can talk about, are they city-based, are they rural-based? So the data that we report, sometimes you might get a bit frustrated. Why are you asking me to determine how many of the mentees is disabled? Because it is relevant information in terms of certain demographics and when we are talking to them. So there are different things that we disaggregate. For instance, our mentors, we want to know, are they all coming from a particular profession, or do we have a nice spread? And we know that that information is important, because we can then say, okay, for a STEM cohort, we can then have more STEM oriented mentors. So disaggregation of the data. Then we show the reporting schedule. How often do you report this indicator? Do you report it once a year? There are certain indicators you won't be able to report on until a whole year has passed, yeah? And then there are others which you report on more regularly. For example, attendance. How many people came for the session? That one you know immediately after the session has ended. But if I were to ask the fundraising team, how much money did you raise? They'll scream at me if I say to them, give me an update every quarter or every week or something like that. Sometimes there are certain indicators you want to take a step back and say, okay, let's assess this after 1 year. Then we provide targets. In the M&E plan, in the results framework, you're going to see for every indicator, there are targets. That is at a global level. The job now falls on us to say, okay, for South Africa, this is what it's going to look like. For Pakistan, this is what it's going to look like. So take a look at the results framework. All of this is description. I cannot help you beyond this point. Go and play with those documents. Look at them, interrogate, put your questions down and say, why is this there? Why is it presented this way? So here are examples of the indicators, and I've clustered them in a logical manner. So for example, one of the most important things for us at G4G is the mentees journey. Yeah, those young ladies who come for the program. How do we monitor them, and how do we evaluate them? So I've done a color coding over here. I'm very much like Kinelwe. We work very well together. The orange indicators, the ones that are placed in orange, are the short-term indicators. If you remember, your inputs, your processes, and your outputs, those quick things we can measure. Then the green and the blue, the green is outcome, and then the blue is impact, and there are not a lot of those. We typically have many more indicators for monitoring than you do for evaluation. So when we are talking about mentees, what are the types of things we measure? How many have signed up? How many mentees have participated in the program? So we do want to know how many girls have attended at least one session. That information is important because it becomes your denominator when you're calculating the graduation rate, yeah? Remember the activity we did in the beginning? For you to put things into context, when you say that third indicator, mentees that have graduated from the program, when we say that, for example, that UP, they graduated 50, mentees, and they say, oh, it was out of 70, it was actually pretty good. So those 3 indicators are things that we routinely monitor for mentees. How many signed up? How many attended the sessions? but of those, how many graduated from the program? Then we look at outcome, and there's a lot of outcome in relation to mentees because that is the business of G4G. A lot of time, we spend a lot of time, and we have a big interest in terms of the mentees' journey. What was that effect, that impact that we can come back 6 months later and we can look at? Of the mentees that graduated, how many have taken an action and made a difference in their personal lives or in someone else's lives, so their communities? We also look at the mentees that have reported growth in these 3 areas. And I remember Alan and Izana were critical when we were discussing, like, what are these growth areas? They said, no, define these growth areas. The big things we come back and we assess for: growth in confidence, growth in technical leadership skills, and growth in building a support system. Village is our language. The other indicator we look at is mentees' ability to address personal fears, challenges, goals. So for those of you who will return for the training and evaluation, it's one of the areas we study. What were your goals and your dreams when you started this G4G journey? But also, what were your fears and your challenges? And then we assess, did G4G help you at all? So that's what we do. We cover in an evaluation. Remember, the evaluations are the ones that inform those green indicators and the blue ones. And then we also look at mentees that have taken up leadership positions. I love this indicator because this is what we say we do. We seek to empower girls to lead. So for me, this is like my #1 indicator. If I can tell you, of the girls that went through the G4G program, 75% of them have taken up a leadership role. Already right there is some evidence that we are beginning to have impact. We are relevant. Remember those questions that we asked earlier on about under evaluation, the longer term effect. And then the last indicator that we have here, and this is the long-term one. Remember, I think someone from Zambia asked about this one. Percentage of graduated mentees that have taken up significant and or influential leadership roles after attending the program. Influential is the important word here. So maybe the influence of a university student that graduated last year is limited. But remember, we said we're going to follow these girls and their journeys. Like me, I'm on Aka Dlamini, Akalulwa Dlamini. Judith is the proper pronunciation, who is here today, not only as a mentee, she has also joined us as a coordinator. I'm watching, and she is the deputy lead at our alumni group. I'm watching this young woman's journey. I'm watching her. This is only literally 1 year, not even 1 year after she has graduated. What might we even be able to say in terms of influence? Right now, she's showing leadership. So she's at outcome level. But I'm thinking that in 5 years' time, this woman might actually be sitting in an influential position, and that's what we want to be able to measure. So the influential one is going to come at a much later date, okay? So even for the mentors, we have specific indicators. What does the mentor's journey look like? How do we monitor it? We look at how many mentors. Remember, there are many people who say, oh, I want to be a G4G mentor. But what we also worry about is how many of those that put their hand up, say, for example, 100, how many actually came for the training? Because you needed to be equipped before you activated. How many of those that, we call them prospective, the ones who have put their hands up and said, I want to be a mentor, how many are trained and onboarded? It's important to know. Many people are saying 100 people sign up, but only 80 are ultimately trained. Maybe what has happened to those 20? So we monitor it. It's for us, it's important to see that every woman who says, I want to be a G4G mentor, we can actually train you and get you in there. Then we look at how many mentors have been formally trained, and then how many actively mentor. I think we even, in the results framework, we specifically ask how many of those that actively mentor completed at least 4 sessions. I know it's not yet an official G4G rule, but we are interested in finding out how many don't just come for 1 session, that they actually stay and they graduate with their cohort. Juliet, you have a question? I will come back to you when I'm done with the presentation, so please hold that thought. The other thing that we look at, this is an indicator I've talked about exhaustively today. Remember, we're talking about mentors, but we also want to know where our mentors coming from. So this indicator, which looks like it belongs to mentees, the percentage of mentees that become mentors is very important to us. We want to see that we are retaining, we are converting mentees into mentors. So we actually make it part of the mentor journey. But, and Alan is famous for mentioning this, the mentors come to mentor the girls. But to a lot of us, we have been reverse mentored. We have learned things. In fact, some of us have learned things from the G4G modules, which are supposed to be for the mentees. We have applied them in our own lives. So we have noticed that there's a change in the mentors' lives as well. And we are not going to miss it. We want to know what is that personal change or growth that has happened as a result of being involved in G4G. So that, those, the green and the blue, are what we shall be trying to address under the evaluation. So we initially started off thinking, oh, the process evaluation for G4G programs focuses on the mentees. No, we are now widening it to say, yes, the mentees are very important, but we are also going to be evaluating to see the impact of G4G on mentors as well. How do we monitor the growth of Girls for Girls, as in the program? So for instance, Catherine, who from Uganda, who is leading the subcommittee on strategy. We want to know, where are we? Izana, who is our CEO, the G4G CEO. I think her issue is not just knowing that, yes, activities are happening in Uganda and they're happening in South Africa. She also wants to know how many countries are we implementing G4G in, even you and I. I think when we are selling the concept of G4G, I know when I'm recruiting people, I say to people, oh, we are in 24 countries. Last year we were in 16 countries. Do you see the growth that has happened? So yeah, so we also want to look at things from that perspective. Countries implementing G4G programs, and then the percentage that are implementing the onboarding. The onboarding program relates to the mentors. In other words, we're not just signing up mentors. We have an army of women who are ready. They've been prepared, they've been onboarded, they've been trained to be able to run cohorts. So at an outcome level, the strategy committee has a lot that it looks at. We look at language. Why is language important to G4G? Diversity. You just heard Mimi talking. We now need more people. We need Arabic. Maybe we need Portuguese in the room. When I think about Southern Africa, you know, where is Mozambique? Where is Angola? This group, the strategy group, also looks at the increase in numbers of circles and cohorts compared to the previous year. So it's not enough to just say, oh, we're operational in Botswana this year. We also want to know how many cohorts are happening in Botswana, because the number of cohorts should mean we're able to generate more graduated mentees and mentors. Under this segment, related to the growth of G4G, we look at the number of new partnerships that are formed within countries. Maybe collaborations have been formed with universities, maybe collaborations have been formed with regards to business clubs, book clubs, fireside chats, which generate new mentors for G4G. All of those things we monitor. We look at under the evaluation. These are the green ones are reported on an annual basis. After every 12 months, it will be in the December report. We look at countries that are implementing complementary activities to the G4G mentoring country, and then we look at cross-country collaborations. Is Pakistan talking to Uganda? Is Portugal talking to Malaysia? Are we saying we are a network only in word, or are we actively implementing that network? Remember, networking is one of the pillars of G4G. The other set of indicators that we have, I think I'd shared these earlier on, relates to fundraising. Remember, the fundraising people are important to us. As we grow as a movement, we need to worry about where the resources coming from. So there are two indicators over there. And it's really about how the funds that have been raised compared to the previous year. And then we are also attaching it back to social media. Because we're out there and we are visible, are we attracting people to be able to support G4G? And then we have the communications team. So the communications are not just social media people. The communications also drive the way in which we communicate. All the slides we have shown you today have been governed by our communications people. They brand the color schemes, they brand our logo and things like that. They're very powerful in terms of how they communicate, okay? But they're the first interface in a number of instances where people begin to hear about G4G on social media and things like that. So we have an indicator. The percentage of mentees that joined G4G because of social media inquiries. Maybe they reached us via Instagram, maybe they heard, mentors might have heard about us from LinkedIn. So we monitor the number of G4G followers that we have, because that is very powerful. It means that that's where we can put our call to recruitments, whether it's for mentees, whether it's for mentors, or even any of our social projects that we might have. And then collaborations started via social media. So last year, we had a GBV webinar in South Africa to celebrate Women's Day. One of the participants who was invited by a mentor of ours came from a cellular providing company. They ended up sponsoring data for 30 girls. They said, anyone who is signed on to Celsi, boom, it's done. So that was very interesting. It came through an online platform. Are we measuring that? And if we know it's effective, why are we not doing it again? Maybe we need to do it more consistently. And then from a longer term perspective, we look at how many countries are running social media accounts, because we recognize that these are very good inputs into the way we do our business. The last set of indicators are under M&E. So this is about, are we all using M&E? How many countries have M&E capacity? So even today, we now should be able to report that at least 9 countries have capacity, because you now know about the tools, you know about the M&E plan, you know about the results framework. The percentage of countries that are using the tools, remember we said for the system to be operational, for us to say we have a system, an M&E system at G4G, you have to use the tools. So one of the things we shall be monitoring is, are people using the baseline tools? Are they using the feedback forms? And are they using the standard reporting tools? We're also going to be looking at whether the cohorts are all compliant. Is everyone using the tools? Or do we have some people who just are not reporting? And then, because we said, remember the last point I made about timely data, we need to make sure that people are reporting on schedule. We can't have people, when Morgan makes the call out, please report your December 2020 data, and someone is reporting it in June 2021. It's not helping us. So that's what we're going to be monitoring from a special M&E perspective. Yeah, so I think that's it in terms of the results framework. I'm going to talk at a very high level about the M&E plan. I needed to take time on the results framework because, dear ladies, sometimes we don't read. So I needed to make sure that before someone says, oh, we're not monitoring this, oh, we're not monitoring that, you have just gotten a crash course of all the indicators G4G intends to monitor. So very quick, you have the M&E plan, it has been shared with you, feel free to take it and customize it. Zambia, Team Zambia can now take it and say, okay, we are now customizing it. Team Zimbabwe, do the same thing. Every country in here, you have the Word version, so you're able to do it for yourself. But one of the important things that we have within the M&E plan is the theory of change. People who are in development know that that's what people always ask us. What does a theory of change look like? And I just wanted to show you how we've mapped the theory of change and mapped the tools that relate to it. So we all know this story, that when someone has a vision and says, we're going to run G4G within the country team mobilizes, yeah, it puts out the registration out there. And then people sign up using the baseline tools and things like that. G4G then says, okay, we now have 300 mentees. That's, for instance, a story that we are at in South Africa today. But where do they go? Some are going to go to UJ University, whatever it is, they have signed up. Then, even that big group, we then cluster them into circles, yeah? Each circle, yeah, within the cohort, or even those of you who run big circles, will have a dedicated mentor, yeah, at least one. Normally, in most of the countries, I hear that there's at least 2 mentors that oversee that circle. And then they oversee it, they run the sessions. We know that the 6 modules are delivered and in not over a period of 6 months. And what happens? We graduate the girls, okay? But even after we have graduated the girls, the story continues. We retain them. Some of them, I mean, everyone is invited to come and join an alumni. And I think the alumni story is just being set up. Botswana was the latest to set up. I think they did it 2 weeks ago. And then we still invite the mentees to become mentors. And for those that do come and join, then they're trained, they set up their own cohorts, and the story continues. This is the sustainability that we're talking about. So this is what we call the theory of change. In development, we always ask, what is it you want to do? This is the story of G4G. Beneath it, I want to show you how the tools we have designed support this story, okay? So the monitoring and the evaluation, and there they are, they're indicated for you, that there are different tools that are used at different times. I'm cognizant of time, so I'm not going to walk through each of them, but if this, my point is this, if this is our theory of change, if this is the effect that we want to get to, we graduate the girls, we bring the girls back in, so that they can set up their own circles. And indeed, we're beginning to have a movement. We're showing you that for every stage of this theory of change, for every stage in this journey, there are tools to support you. And these tools will all be covered in the course of this session. So we have done the baselines, we have done the feedback forms. Next time when we come in session 2, we'll now be doing those unique tools, the communications, fundraising, and things like that, okay? This is in your M&E plan. It shows you how the data flows up. Just notice that you have the cohorts, you have the training group, you have the partnership and outreach group, you've got the fundraising group, and you've got the communications group. There's a logic over here. Now, today, the only thing we've been able to cover is this, okay? So when people are saying, why are we having a second session? It's because we need to cover this and we need to go up here. So that is why we're going to have session 2, that we need to say to ourselves, we have understood how to report from a cohort, but we haven't yet gone through how the communications, fundraising, training, etc. report. Then we need to understand how does it come into a country report. So for example, how does it come together in the Malaysia report and what happens to it after that, okay? Their roles and responsibilities. This is just us thinking through who are the different people who play. Remember Mary's question, who is responsible for M&E? And I think the overwhelming response was, I think 80% of us, or over 80% of us, said it's everyone's role. Here is the breakdown of what the different people, each of you, are capable of answering. If you remember the spider web we did when I did the Mentimeter, some are mentees, some are mentors. Everyone has a role to play in M&E. And this table is shared within the M&E plan. So go and read it. But remember that when you read it, critique it. Say, maybe this is what Uganda thinks it should look like. From Zambia's perspective, from Zimbabwe's perspective, from Malaysia's perspective, we might combine certain roles, or we might say, oh, no, this responsibility actually belongs with the country team leader, not with the M&E coordinator. So I'm challenging you, take a look at this information and customize it for yourselves. The tools is what we walked through earlier on today. Here they are. And all of you have access to them because you now have access to the Google form. If you still don't have, send me that note and I'll give you access. We've done the cohort related tools, so the baseline assessments and the session feedback forms. Now you can see that items 4, 5, etc., those are the ones we're going to be covering in session 2. Okay, I know it is time to end. So those are your 3 key documents, good people. Go and teach to learn. Document number 1 is, put on your microphones. Let me get some feedback. What is document number 1?
Results framework.
Yes. Document number 2?
M&E plan.
M&E plan.
And then the set of documents number 3?
M&E toolkits.
I've done my job. Okay, so
well done. Well done.
Yeah, we can only talk so much. The trick is in the doing. You guys take those documents and tear them apart. And next time around, we'll have an even better engagement and a session. So unless there are any questions.
Yes, there was.
Mabel says something very true, which even I, who is facilitating, feel. The speed of the sessions is high. I would appreciate to read through. Very good. Go and read through the documents and even all the presentations that have been done today. You're going to see them in that folder. So knock yourself out, yeah? Thank you.
So there's a question by, and I had it here. Yes, Gezali, she says, how do we define influential? This was when you were talking about the M&E framework, influential positions or transformational initiatives in reference to the mentees and KPIs around that.
Okay, so remember that it's a qualitative description, that influential, it comes in the evaluation. The evaluation requires an application of your own interpretation and your own knowledge of the local context. You've just heard Miriam share with us that, for instance, in her environment, she can't even collect data, yeah? So the standards in Algeria will be different from somewhere else. Her definition, for example, if she talks about the success of M&E, probably the first time Miriam sends a form out and only 60% people respond, she'll be like, yay! In South Africa, because for us it's a free-flowing, I'm looking for 100%. Let me come back to the influential. Influential is going to depend on for me, the way I see it, the age group. It's going to depend on the context of your environment. We are talking to Senegal. Senegal are just about to come on board. They're scoping us out. They described the situation in Senegal to us, religious issues, inequality. It is so severe. It's a completely different landscape than if we compare it to Kenya, okay? So when we talk about influence, when they're evaluating influence in Senegal, they're going to have to interpret it in the context of Senegal. And that's why evaluations should be done by people from those countries. Please keep note of that. So influence, for instance, of women in an environment where they're so marginalized, they have no voice. Even just having a woman getting onto radio and talking about G4G, that might be significant influence. But in South Africa, where it's free-flowing, it might not be. Here, what we might be looking for is, for instance, maybe at ministerial level or something like that, because we already have, our cabinet already has over 50% of women on the cabinet. So our standards are different. The point is this: every country has to define those qualitative parameters, but I'm happy to have more dialogue on it. And remember, the question you're asking about influence comes under evaluation, so we shall address it there as well. Okay. So we have some ideas, but they are to be refined and put into context. Yes, Diana, I'm talking a lot. I'm passionate.
No. I shouldn't miss next Saturday. We'll be here and we'll be waiting for you, and we will have a more in-depth discussion around that. If you'd like to comment, please put up your hand. Namuchana, I saw you put up your hand and lower it. I'm going to ask that you unmute this time. You know, you always say the question has been asked. Let's hear your voice.
Thank you so much, Diana, and lovely presentation, Rita and everyone. Now, we are talking about baselines, and we are talking about measuring and also seeing the progress of the mentees. Is it possible for us to go backwards to even the groups, the co-leads and the coordinators within country? I'm able to see how we have grown. I've grown personally. I wasn't the way I am now at the beginning of the G4G. So are we able to count on those progress stories as part of our success? That's number one. Then number two, we have a few mentors who've missed today's training. If they join the next one, are they going to lose out so much, or will it be enough for them to follow the recording? I'm sure you share the recording. Thank you.
We'll share the recording, but to be honest, I think all of you are going to feel it, that the ability to be here to ask questions the way you want to, that's why we wanted people in session. So the second session is now going to presume that you know everything from session one. We are proceeding. But let's take that offline. Let's find out how many they are, because we can then do a follow-up training. Let me go back to the evaluation. And I see Alan has put her video on, which means she's about to comment. But that's exactly the point of evaluation, Namuchana. You've hit it on the head. Remember I said evaluation is where you stop and you take a look back. You say, this journey I started on, where have we come from? What changes have we seen? And remember, we also said the evaluation does not only cover mentees, it covers mentors. So yes, we are going to capture those stories. In the evaluation questionnaire, so when you sign up for the evaluation session, we will walk you through that tool, and you will see that indeed we capture those stories, but we don't just capture those stories randomly, tell me your story. We actually cluster it, like tell us, we ask specific questions in relation to effectiveness, we ask questions in relation to impact, we ask questions in relation to sustainability. So we're going to capture those stories. They're not lost, they're not lost. Thank you. Alan might have wanted to say something, but she's disappeared again.
I'm there, Rita. I don't know where I've disappeared. So thank you so much to you and the entire team. Amazing sisters, amazing women. These women put in the work, ladies. They put in the work, the hours, and it shows. Thank you so much. On Namchana's story, just last week, we had a $2 million proposal to one of the funders to try and get money. And one of the $1 million questions was, what are you showing for the work you do? Now, I know, having started this journey with Girls for Girls, that has been tremendous impact. I look at Namchana, I see the difference. I look at Rita, I see the difference. I look at Diana, I see the difference, but I was not able to capture it in words. And so what we have done with Rita, because for a long time I've been saying, look, we have to be able to immediately capture that information. Rita and Kini and I think you did share the forms. One of the things we've put in there is to now start immediately capturing after the 6 sessions what has changed, and even in the mentors feedback forms, because normally, like now I was just speaking to a group on courageous leadership. I was in another cohort as this was happening. You can see immediately the girls after courageous leadership, there's a change. And next time they come back together, they'll say, look, I went and actually made that presentation. I went and actually did this. I actually made that difference. I started an NGO after session 3. We don't want to wait 6 months to capture that information. So Rita has changed the forms to ensure that we capture some of the information along that. At the end of the 6 modules, you're able to confidently say 70% of the girls say they have gotten improved confidence, or they are now running these initiatives. Immediately, the day you close, like Bosco closed last week, they should be able to just immediately pull out those quick things that they can share those stories about. So that's why these forms are very critical, because they now capture that data. Yeah. But thank you so much, so much.
Thank you. So ladies, this is not just another feel-good session. We live with action. And I would like to invite Judy to come on and just as we prepare for Saturday next week, what should we look forward to? What 1-2 things should we start doing?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies. I think we need to congratulate ourselves. Can we turn on our screens and share flowers? Because really, we have done well. This has been, is it 2 hours of heavy duty and you're still here? I have not seen anybody collapse. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we wanted to be practical. And so we have some homework, which we're going to be grading you on. I'm kidding. The homework is really to help you as countries. So Rita, can we project the action plan, please?
Okay, start talking about it while I get
Okay, so now what we want to do, you remember after I finished my presentation of the debunking of myths, we had a small session where we were talking about, in my country, I do this, in my country, I do the other. So we want to extend this discussion so that you can go in country and then discuss with your country the questions that we're going to send. They're already in the folder, and the presentation is called Operations, Country Operations, I believe. And you have the different questions that have been asked that you can reflect upon. So as you do this, it is important to have a pulse check. Remember in the beginning, we talked about a pulse check. How are we going to get to the pulse check? How are we going to know that we're doing the right thing? Who is going to be doing it? What do we need to do? So based on the, Rita, the Word document, please. So based on this, we then need and want you to come up with a country action plan. So you can sit as a country, agree that this is what needs to be done. This is the person that is going to be responsible. We are going to be doing it within this time. And then we even have a column where we can say, this is the progress that we have made this far. These are the challenges. And if we need to reach out to somebody or to any of the resources that we have within our family, we are able to. So this is what is also on the files that have been sent, a template for a country plan. That is for the country benefit. So you are going to sit down and have a reflection, look at where you are, see where you need to go. For example, this particular country that we have has, they don't have a mentor registration. So what they want to do is they want to review the standard mentor registration that has been shared in the Google file. They want to adapt it to the country situation, and they're putting Miss Jane Doe, who is the country team leader, as responsible for that process. And they expect this process to be done by the 1st of May. So as Miss Jane is working on it, she can share the progress that, oh, I'm having difficulty with my online or whatever it is. And then maybe the country lead will say, maybe talk to Kimi. Kimi can go through it or look at this presentation. And then on the 31st of, does April have 31 days? On the 30th of April, on the 30th of April, Jane will have succeeded and she will say, I have done it. And the country is going to congratulate her. So this is a form that you can then use to reflect on the situation that you have in your specific countries, where you'd want to go, the actions that you want to give people. It is always best to have designates, because what I have found is if you say something good to be done, and I'm kind of assuming Rita or Diana will do it, none of us will do it. So you have to task Judy, call, do this, and report back to the team so that we can do it. So this is the tool that we want you to reflect on. Please work as a country. You're a team. Please use the resources that you have. And remember, as I said before, it doesn't matter how many items you have. The most important thing is to take that first step and start working on it and building on it, because M&E is a journey. You grow with it. I don't know if there are any questions of clarification or questions that you'd want answered. You can put them or chat or put up your hand.
I don't see any questions. I
Yes.
want to thank you, Lillian. I'm looking at Lillian's chat and talking to you, Judith. Thank you, Judith, for making everything so clear. You make it so clear. I can see sort of my next steps, and I can make sure that, my time here is not just fun and great, a fun feeling, but actually how to put it into action. So I would like to invite everybody to switch on their cameras and just send flowers. We can take one photo. As you switch on your cameras, I want to talk quickly about our feedback form. It is the gift that you are going to give to us. I will not tell you the many nights that we've spent up, but all we're asking for is your feedback. And in the feedback, we're specifically asking, what can we do better? How can we make this session more relevant? How can we make it such that as we invite you next Saturday, that you feel you'll actually get your, worth for the session, but also as you go out to become our agents in your country, what will make it exciting for you to talk about us, for you to talk about M&E, and for you to bring everybody who needs to be part of this conversation into this conversation. So we need your feedback. Nyasha is going to post it in the link here. We will also send it by email. We will also wrap up everything, the links that we've talked about, the links on the framework, the links on the tools. You are going to get these. And the most important thing that you can do for us is respond with respect to the feedback, so that we can make sure that you are getting value from the time that we're putting in. So I'm going to ask Rita to take our photo, but as she prepares to take our photo, I want us to send flowers to Rita, flowers to Judith, flowers to Mary, flowers to Kini, flowers to myself, flowers to Nyash, flowers to Maria. I know Maria is on, but she's one of our team members. All our team members in the M&E committee. Yes, yes, yes. Flowers to you. And we're going to also do our pa, one round. So make sure you're ready. Shake your shoulders, shake your shoulders. Get ready. 3 times pa, and the last pa. So pa, 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 pa. Rita, please take our photo. I think everybody has a smile.
No, you're giving me too many things to do. I've posted the link in the... I'm taking the photo. I'm supposed to be doing pa. So I'm the photographer. The link is in the chat. One more time while I take the pictures. Okay, one more time.
Okay, so look into the camera and sort of, I think let's do flowers. It might be easier to get everybody on with minimum, you know. So flowers, look into your camera, smile.
Oh, that's a beautiful one, Belinda. Belinda is with someone, yeah.
I know.
Okay, I think I have it.
Okay. Which I'll also send you that photo. You'll also receive that photo, don't worry. But talk about M&E. It's exciting, it's fun, it's all about transparency. And together we can get on, you know, like a big bus and deliver results, deliver information, deliver wrap up. Anything you want to wrap up on, Rita? Next Saturday, anytime we're going to be.
Just to ask for the feedback form. So we've put it in the chat. Please give us the feedback so that we can do better next time round. Beyond that, no. Thank you very much on my part. You've been awesome. And we look forward to you challenging us. Send us those questions and we will send you the full folder. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. My last request, please, how do you say thank you in your language and you can sign off. So say thank you in your local language, thank you in French, thank you in Arabic, and then you can sign off. Love you.
Natasha.
Okay.
Nitumezi.
Nikomo.
Okay.
Raleboha. Thank you.
Belumba, everybody.
And here goes some music as we start wrap up. Yes.
Thank you.
Alan, this one is for you.
It's the kids, baby. Tetema, yani kama umepigwa shoti. Tetema, ipe miganisho ya roboti. Tetema, ukutani hadi kwenye kochi. Tetema, kwenye giza mama shika tochi. Kataka kama noga, oh mama. Kapandizi za Bukoba, oh mama. Kapandisha boda boda.
Shake the shoulders. That's why getting up as you dance off.
Mama, shigidi, nakufa, hoi, wikidi, ay, mama, shigidi, konki, fire, moto, liquid in the tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, tipo, tetema. Tetema, aya, tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, shuka chini, tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, aya, tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, tipo, tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, aya, tetema. Oh, mama, tetema, shuka chini, tetema.
Oh my God, beautiful.
Yani kama vile
Thanks so much.
kama mwizi kakupiga ngeta, mwana wa kutunga kupepeta, chini nikipuliza tarumbeta, sawoza, doza, keza shogoroza, kufa chali kama mende, Maria Rose, pose, tungi limegoza, twende nikupige nyembe. You make my mind go kolo, 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 ukinuna tumie toro, toro, toro. Sani pesa digi digi, miuno ya digi digi, funga kipinda mkweji kweji, nikunyonge kazigi zigi, tete.
Oh mama tetema, tipo tetema. Oh mama tetema,
Well done, ladies. Bye bye.
shuka chini tetema. Oh mama tetema, aya twende tetema. Oh mama tetema, tipo tetema. Oh mama tetema, aya twende tetema. Oh mama tetema, shuka.
Rita.
Yeah.
I thought we'd have a quick wrap up, but everybody has gone off. So I guess our next meeting is Tuesday. And but maybe we need a feedback. Okay, not we need a feedback form, but we can ask people to post their takeaways, their comments on the group, so that we can pick up those instant. You get what I mean?
Yeah, and but yeah, I see a couple of people who. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Just so that it's only the group that should be here.
I've moved her out.
Okay, and I also need to stop the recording.
Yes.